Hello, everyone. Oh my God, everything has already gone wrong already electronically. Oh my God. Tell me first if you can see and hear me, because just when I was starting the show, it said I can't broadcast because I'd have no room left in my on my computer. And I'm like, what? I have to eliminate all my videos. So I raced and eliminated all my videos, and then they let me back in. Oh, thank God. Okay. Someone asked me, what do I want for Christmas? All I want for Christmas is somebody to set up my entire studio and the lighting, because I can't figure out why I have light here. I think it's the window. Driving me crazy. Okay, thank you everybody for saying you can see and hear me. The training is working. All right. Oh my God. Okay, I'm calming down now. You know, my son also has a YouTube channel, and he just moved from California to Maryland. Why would he do that in the winter? Dude, stupid move. But anyway, you know, he has a background, which a green screen background, which is a room, which is really cool looking. And it's funny because he's in the same room, whether he's in California or he's in Maryland, because neither of those rooms are real. But now he's like going insane because he can't get the mic to work right and he can't get the lighting to work right. And he's really, really sad. So, so we commiserate together because I'm like, my lighting isn't working, you know, and he's like, my sound isn't working. I'm like, people have no idea how difficult this is. Okay, so any rate, reticent is here from Northern Kentucky, cold, gray, and drizzling. Yeah, I know what that's like. Okay, Martin says, I'll be your tech assistant for a small salary. Hey, as much as I'm making on YouTube right now, your salary is going to be about $3 a month. So, Coin says, get the heck off the West Coast. Hey, he had great weather and it was really pretty. And now he's back in Maryland where it's dray and drizzling. And he's in Ocean City, Maryland. And that's where you want to be in the summer, not in the winter. But oh my God. Okay. So that's my spiel for this morning or this afternoon. I don't even know what time of day it is. Oh my God. Okay. Christine, you're good thing you're late because I've lost my mind. Any rate, okay, before I finish losing my mind. Okay. Oh Lord. I just have, they say the electronic troubles are really annoying. And you know, you're getting ready for the show and you've got 1 minute left and then it says, you can't do your show. It's like, what? Anyway. Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, you got the tornadoes. Oh Lord God, the tornadoes. Anybody, if you're outside of the US, you don't know that we had like horrific tornadoes that killed a whole bunch of people. It's been a trying week. Before I just get started, I'll just mention, you know, I was looking forward to a lot of things I was going to do this week and then in the next few weeks, because I no longer homeschool my granddaughter because she's in school. But then last week, some kid tested positive for COVID, so the class had to stay home for 10 days, and I had to hang out with her for 10 days, helping her with the schooling. And I'm like, yay, she's going back tomorrow. No, now they shut the whole school system down, and they're like, okay, we're going to do virtual until January 14th. I'm like, well, and there goes my life. Because I am the grandmother next door, and I do all my work out of home, so what can I say? All right. Forever Young says, your persistence is admirable. Well, you know, you can do what you do. Oh my God. Oh, let's see what Ryan says. Do you know how to access Gonzalo Amaral's new book in English translation? You know, I do not. If anybody wonders what that is, Gonzalo Amaral, he was a detective on the Madeleine McCann case, and he has a new book out, and I have absolutely no clue how to get it in English, which I wish I could. Gonzalo and I were going to write a book together because I went to Portugal. I met Gonzalo, and we got along really well. And I talked with my agent about us writing an American book an English book together, so that would reach the English-speaking world, and it would be the detective on the Madeleine McCann case and the profiler who had already spoken up and written a book on the Madeleine McCann case. And we had this great book, and we took it out to all the publishers, and all the publishers chickened out because they're afraid of lawsuit. So they all said no. They said this is an amazing book. We'd love to publish it, but we're not going to. So that was the end of that. So really a bummer. But I'm glad Gonzalo finally got his second book out, and I'd like to read it myself because I'm curious what he has to say in the second round now that he is allowed to publish again. So I'm happy for Amaral, Gonzalo Amaral. Wish we could have done our book together, but hey, if he can get a book out on his own, bully for him. So yeah, it is a new book published this year, but I just don't know. It's published this year, Ryan, but it is in Portuguese, and since I don't speak any Portuguese, that's a problem. Okay, there's some creepy person here. Whoa, what is? Okay, really? Okay, I've just there's a really creepy person here, so I'm just going to block the user. Okay. Wow. I mean, it's amazing. Block user. Okay, I'm going to block user. An error occurred. Okay, I can't even block the user. What in the world? Well, that's interesting. I'm trying. Okay, I'll put him in a timeout. It's a person called Loveface. He wants to do sexual stuff on my channel. Oh my God, live is worse than ever. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to get going with the show because people are going to get pissed off that I'm not actually talking about Chandra Levy. Now, what about Chandra Levy? This case is over 2 decades old now, and it is one of the most fascinating cases out there because it has been solved, but not solved. And I'm going to show you what that means. Solved, but not solved. Okay, so what happened is, let me just give you the quick rundown from Wikipedia because, I love Wikipedia because I'm lazy. Okay, so Chandra Levy. She was an intern at the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Washington, D.C., who disappeared in May of 2001. She was presumed murdered after her skeletal remains were found in Rock Creek Park in May 2002. So a year later, after she disappeared, they finally found her remains. The case attracted attention from the American news media for several years, mostly because of this dude, Congressman Gary Condit. And we'll get into that. He exploded the news and the media. When they get a little bit of tantalizing information, they're going to go nuts. And they did. So that is the basics of the case. I'm going to explain more about the case as we go on, because it is, in 2001 was the time I started my television career. And interestingly, I did talk about this case, and I believe I talked with Connie Chung, and I'll be talking about Connie Chung a little later, but I talked about this case, and I went and looked at my YouTube channel, and I didn't realize I started my YouTube channel 10 years after I started TV. So I have this massive collection of video, which my dearest sister actually put into DVD form, which was amazing. And it's in storage, so I have absolutely no idea what I said about the Chandra Levy case at the time. I did write a blog on it at one point, and interestingly enough, I had misinformation when I wrote that blog, and it's fascinating to look back on. I'm like, really? Because now it seems like there's different information. So that goes to show where things go wrong when you're trying to analyze a case and you don't have the right information. So today we're going to reanalyze this case. And one of the most important things about this case is last Sunday, I did a case on the 2 Dutch girls who went missing in Panama. They went for a hike, and they apparently went on a trail that was probably a trail they shouldn't have been on because they weren't familiar with it. And then they went missing, and 10 days later, they had 10 days worth of, they were trying to signal a 911, the 911 of Panama, not the 911 of the U.S., but whatever their 911 is down there. And they were trying to get a signal, and they could never get the signal. And apparently at some point they died. It's skeletal remains. A few of their skeletal remains are found, and their backpack was found with the cell phone in it, which is how they got the information about the cell phone and how they attempted to reach 911. Now, in that particular case, it was very clear to me exactly what happened. Now, there are people who disagree with me. Now, you can go look at the video from last week, and you'll see there are some people really upset with me. Nah, that's not what happened. I think this and this and that. But to me, the evidence was pretty clear as to what happened. This case is a little different. And I'm going to show why it's a little different and why at certain points even if you're analyzing a case, you got to say, I'm not exactly sure what happened to Chandra Levy. And so this is a case in point. Now, some people who are coming here, not my friends who come here all the time, but some people who are new will say, oh, why aren't you just telling the story? No. Go to Mystery and Makeup, because those girls tell a great story and you get a great makeup tutorial. And they tell the story. I don't tell a story. I'm helping you understand how criminal profiling and crime scene analysis works. And so this is a longer discussion of what's the evidence and what does the evidence mean and how does that play out? And this is a fascinating case in that point. So let's see what happens. So the picture I put up here this is Gary Condit, and this is Chandra Levy, and this is a guy called Ingmar Guandique, and this is a possible unknown attacker. So we know that Chandra Levy's remains were found. That's proven. A year after she disappeared, her remains were found in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C. So she's dead. There's no question about that. Sadly, somebody killed her. Somebody asked, could she have died a natural death, like she tripped and fell? The answer to that is absolutely not. There's evidence that shows that is not true. Chandra Levy was murdered. There's no question about that. This was a homicide. It was a murder. It was also unlikely to be a accident. How shall we say, a manslaughter case where somebody killed her, but they didn't mean to kill her. No. She was killed. Okay? She was murdered. So the question came, did Gary Condit have something to do with it? This is Congressman Gary Condit, or was it Ingmar Guandique, an illegal, it was an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. Did he kill her, or was it somebody we actually don't know yet? Was there actually somebody else who killed her? And so this is what we're going to get into and look at what the evidence tells us and look at how this case played out. It's absolutely a fascinating case. Okay, so let's go ahead with that. All right, so essentially, let's go back to sort of the beginning. If we can go to a sort of a beginning on this case. Oh, before I do that, because I always forget, hey, you got to support the channel. Please support the channel. Okay, and here, please just subscribe. If you're here and you keep visiting my channel, please subscribe because it does help with the algorithms, like saying, hey, come and watch these videos. So please subscribe, like the video, share with anybody in a true crime group. That would really be helpful. And also hit that bell because it lets you know when the next video is coming up. If you want to help out a little bit more, you can join Patreon, and even we have $1 a month. It's just to help the channel keep going. Also, you can go at a higher level and join our hangouts during the week, or just buy a book. This is my mystery story, Only the Truth. Fabulous book, if I say so myself, and a few other hundreds of people say so. It's $2.99. If you like a good mystery story, a good psychological mystery story with a heart to it, please buy that book. All right, that's it. That's my spiel on that. Now let's go to the case itself. All right, so what actually happened with this particular case? Now, this is Washington, D.C. This is where I live, and this is why the case was kind of extra interesting to me, because this is my town. Now, Chandra Levy, right here, she came to Washington, D.C. She came as an intern, and this dude, Congressman Gary Condit, was her congressman from California, where she lived. A very, very popular man. He like won election after election after election because, especially when he was younger, handsome as hell and a slick kind of dude. You know what I mean? Kind of slick. And apparently, everybody pretty much liked him in his district. So she came to Washington, and then she visited with him at his office. In the beginning, he just said a couple times. He saw her a couple times in his office. And I'll get into is that true or not? Anyway, they took his picture together at the office. And so it's like, oh, you see, it was just, there was just a little get together, And by the way, if you're wondering, what the heck? See this light on my hand? I just put up this a block for the winter sun, because when I did this show last week, I had so much bright light in my face. I'm like, oh my God, the sun is lower now, and at 3 o'clock. And so consequently, I get these things. So I hung up a nightgown because I don't have any curtains. I hung it up, and what the, excuse me a second. I gotta move some. Hi there. Look, the light is gone. Okay, for the people who like my show, they're like, oh, that's so fun. She has technical problems and lighting problems. And those people who are like, she isn't very professional. Like, why don't you fix these problems? Anyway, now I've moved the nightgown over so that the light wouldn't hit me. Oh my God. Anyway, back to the story at hand. So anyway, Chandra comes, and supposedly, and originally what's said is that Gary Condit, the congressman from her district, just meets her a couple times in his office, and he pays hardly any attention to her. She's just, he wants to help out a constituent. But there is talk that that's not true, that these two actually end up having an affair. This lady over here, she's an airline stewardess. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Flight attendant. I keep forgetting. Flight attendant. And she apparently also claims she's having an affair with Condit. And there's a lot of people who come forth saying they also had an affair with Condit. You know how that goes. And they had what you would call good information. And sometimes when I see somebody, somebody accuses someone of sexual harassment or whatever, or rape years later, and then everybody jumps on board, I'm kind of like, is that true? Or are they just looking for attention? But the people that jumped on board here seem to have a lot of information that only they would know if they were actually in a relationship with Gary Condit. Not saying it's true, because he sues everybody. So just saying, a lot of people are talking, Gary, about having affairs with you. Now, so he anyway denies an affair with Chandra Levy. She's just a constituent, a young girl. He's just trying to help a couple of times. This gets more interesting later. So anyway, here we go with this group. So she's now in Washington, and let me show you where she's living. Okay, so she is living. She has this apartment in DuPont Circle, and if you don't know the area, before I go there, I'm sorry, I forgot I wanted to talk about this. Just so you know where I got a lot of my information from, because even as a profiler, if I'm not working on a case, and I did not work this case, I did not work with the Metropolitan Police Department of DC, so I was not privy to all the details on this case. Now, some cases I actually have worked on personally, but this is not one of them. So I'm getting my information the way you are getting your information, and it's, somebody else's information. So it's always a little questionable, but I want to tell you where I got my information from. Now, Investigation Discovery did a show on Chandra Levy. It's a 3-part show, and you can go down below in the description, and you can click on that, and you can buy it from Amazon Prime. It's the only place I found you can get it. So you do have to pay like $4.99 for the season. Or is it $3.99? Not too bad, but still. Of the cases, of the information out there, the different quote documentaries or YouTube things, I found this actually pretty good. And I have a love-hate relationship with Discovery, because I did a show with Discovery. I did The Mysterious Death of Cleopatra. I went over to Egypt, and I did a whole show. I spent a month in Egypt, and my show was great. I appreciated Discovery Channel for doing that show with me. It's fabulous. But unfortunately, since then, I've seen a lot of Discovery shows that are going down the route of anything that they can make money off of, they'll talk about. And I find them going from scientific to gossip, scientific to whatever gets us viewers and money. And I find that sad because Discovery Channel used to be the scientific channel, and we used to be able to trust them a lot more. And that's very frustrating to me. So I'm like, okay, so this is their version of Chandra Levy case. It's in 3 parts. I watched it and I'm like, okay, I'm not unhappy with this one. I am not. Diane Diamond it does a lot of speaking in it. I've known Diane Diamond for a number of years. And she's not, she's kind of doing a semi-host thing. So is Jane Velez Mitchell, who I've also done shows with. So they're mostly talking basic stuff. But the actual information in the show isn't bad. So they get a lot of good information out in it. And so therefore, I do recommend this, which is rare for me to recommend anything documentary-wise. It's not a bad documentary. And so I think it's worthwhile seeing. So you can go down and click on Amazon below and check that one out. The next one I looked at was a book called Murder on a Horse Trail by a guy. I have no clue who the hell he is. And I think he may have self-published this. But he goes through a lot of details which are not available here and are very interesting. So I think that's worth reading. Then over here, I bought this book, Actual Malice by Gary Condit, and somebody who helped Gary Condit. Oh, Breton Peace, whoever the hell that is. Anyway, this is a fascinating book in the sense that it's actually awful. It's Gary Condit's I'm innocent book. And I'm reading it going, this is about how wonderful Gary Condit is. And oh, look, he loves his wife. He kisses his wife. And everything is basically how he's, everybody was against him politically and the media was against him. And all this turned into a terrible storm, which destroyed his career. And he was totally innocent of everything that happened. So it's an interesting book to read because, it's pretty funny. And I've got something in this book, which I'm going to show you in a little while, which just blew me away. And I'm still shocked over it. And you don't have to buy the book, really. I wouldn't waste your money personally. It's just Gary Condit is innocent. And he loves his wife dearly. And Chandra was just a girl he tried to help. So it's a bunch of BS is what it is. So don't waste your money do not waste your money on this, even though I have the link there. This is more of an interesting book, and this is more interesting. This I'll tell you about. And the one thing in that book, which is just unbelievable, I will tell you about a little later in the show. So, all right. So that I wanted to bring that up because I want you to know where I get my information from, along with Wikipedia, and how I'm trying to digest this information. Now, I did get information from other sources as well, but I'm just pointing these out as being the major ones. So, okay, let's go on to what happened to Chandra Levy. All right, so Chandra, essentially she came to Washington and and she hooked up, she says, with Gary Condit. Now, it's interesting. She apparently had a number of relationships, quote, affairs with other married men who were older. Her family, it's interesting. Her family says she was a very mature girl, very mature for her age. And I'm going to say the opposite. She was very immature for her age. But a girl who gets caught up in trying to find, she calls them the hunks, the older hunks, the powerful hunks. She liked power. And she liked hunks. Now, this dude did work out, and he was pretty good looking in general. Generally, not my type, but other people have other types. She was into the older man with power. That's not a sign of maturity. That's a sign, and especially she had a relationship with a married man before. It's not mature to get hooked up with a married man. It's not. First of all, it's not. It's not right. It's not morally right. Because this man has a wife and children, and you're getting into his life. Now, I'm not excusing this buzzer because he's the one that actually was married. But still, I'm sorry. I've never been okay with that. Supposedly he said his wife he told a lot of people his wife was very, very ill. That's why she never traveled with him. And maybe she thought she was going to croak soon enough. Anyway, she hooked up with this guy almost 30 years older than her because he was exciting and he had power and he had money. And she's just Let's face it, a little intern. Now, said he was trying to help her. Okay. You help somebody, an intern, when they just come to your office a couple times, that's fine. You help them out a little bit. But apparently he helped her a lot more than that. And eventually there was definitely enough information that she spent some time at his apartment. That's not helping. And he finally says he had a relationship with her. She was a good friend. And I'll get into his commentary on that. He said it wasn't romantic, but she was a good friend. Why would you have a good friendship with a little intern that just got to town? I'm sorry. I don't believe that for a minute. She was someone you could hook up with. That's what I'm going to say. Now I have to be very careful because he keeps suing everybody. Some people deserve to be sued, but still he's in a kind of a lawsuit mode. So I'm not going to say he had a relationship that was more than friendship with Chandra Levy, but it sure does look that way to the public and to the media. All right, so let's look at where they live. So anyway, Chandra moves in. She's in D.C. This is Chandra Levy's apartment. She lives here. It's a DuPont Circle area. This is Condit's apartment up here. Now, some people say she moved there because she wanted to be close to Condit. I don't know. It's a city. DuPont Circle is a fun place to live. I'm not going to go there with that. But you see here Rock Creek Park, and this is very important. If you see where she's living here, do you see that Rock Creek Park is also here? See how the Rock Creek Park is there? And it goes up here and it goes over there. So Rock Creek Park is near her apartment. It's also above his apartment. So there's different accesses to Rock Creek Park, and this is going to be important in the telling of this entire story. So anyway, she is now saying things to her family and to an aunt in particular. She has an aunt who she confides in, and she tells this aunt that she's involved with somebody who's a lot older, who's in politics, blah, blah, blah. So basically, it's him. Okay, that she's referring to. Now, I thought this was a great, great comment from Barb. Who the comment was from. Okay, let me get it straight because I don't want to mess this up. Wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm looking at my photos. Okay, this was a great comment from Elizabeth, who's one of my Patreon supporters. I thought this was brilliant. And the last hangout, I talked about how in the movies you always got somebody who calls up the police and says, "I've got this important information. I've got to tell you, and we need to meet." And then before they meet, the person gets murdered. And I'm like, why didn't he just tell the important information over the phone? What was the point of holding out to you have this meeting? What's the sense of that? It makes absolutely none. If you think the information is important, give the information. But, of course, it's a movie, so you want the suspense. And then, oh, my God, he got murdered. Why did he get murdered? What information was he going to tell the police, right? Well, anyway, she tells her aunt she's got big news. This is before she goes missing. She's got big news, but she doesn't tell her aunt what the news is. So Elizabeth writes, "I was also reminded of this case when you mentioned someone leaving voice messages for the police to call them back and being killed before they could. How Chandra supposedly told her aunt that she had big news and the media assumed she was pregnant with Condit's baby. And wouldn't that be big news? That would indeed. Now, she told her aunt and whomever else that she had a 5-year plan. The 5-year plan, I guess, being that at some point either his wife was going to kick it or he was going to divorce her because his kids were grown, divorce her, and then she was going to move in, become his new wife, have a baby, la, 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 all happy. She had some big plan. And the question could she be pregnant? Well, she told some guy at the gym that she went to that she had a female problem that she was trying to work out. Some believe that was a pregnancy. Some believe that makes no sense for a pregnancy. I don't know. That's a good question. I've always found it fascinating when women get pregnant because, we all know how not to get pregnant. One way is to take the pill on a regular basis and not skip a few days. Another is to have an IUD. And the second one, which is really important to me, is no matter what method you use, you also make the guy use a condom. You got a double method, you don't get pregnant. You don't. But Sometimes guys don't like to use condoms, so you tell the guy you're on the pill, he believes you, and he doesn't want to use a condom, so he has sex with you, and you just don't take all those pills, and you get pregnant. And then the guy says, "Oh, she tricked me." Well, okay, dude, because you didn't want to use a condom. If you really didn't want to get a girl pregnant, don't use a condom. Especially if you're having sex with your wife, you should use a condom anyway, because otherwise you'd give your wife maybe a disease. So if you really want to be smart, use a condom every single time. Now, I have no idea whether she was pregnant or she wasn't pregnant. She could have been. Some of the theories behind this whole case is she went missing because she was having an affair with him, and either one of two things happened. She either got pregnant, was going to not get an abortion, and it was going to become public, and he'd completely screw his marriage, maybe, and also screw his political career. I think he was probably more worried about his political career than his marriage. Or she wasn't pregnant, but she was just going to tell him, I'm fed up with this hidden relationship. I want to go public. I want to be your woman, and I'm going to speak up. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not going to go with that, because let me tell you something about this gentleman here. Supposedly, in the relationships he had with women, remember this woman here, and this is not the only one who supposedly had a relationship with him. This woman over here, okay, she's the airline stewardess. I'm not going to get into her name because it's not really important. Airline flight attendant. Let me do that right. Flight attendant. She had some interesting stories to tell. Now, she was coming to Washington, D.C., apparently at the same time he was theoretically hooking up with Chandra. So the two of them were both involved, if it's true what they say, with Gary Condit. And we don't know. But the stories coming from this woman and other women who supposedly have had a relationship with Gary Condit, that they claim that he said in order to have a relationship with him, he wanted them to be very secretive. He never wanted to be seen with them. It was always on the sly. So his wife would never find out. So the media would never find out that he wanted to have a relationship with them, but he didn't want anybody else to know about it. So the women supposedly, which I think is extraordinarily foolish, ladies, but then again, if you're cheating with a married man, I'm not too fond of you either. So, hey, I don't think he's really that much worse than these people. If they know he's married, you don't belong with the dude. And you have no excuse after that. Sorry. He didn't do right by you. Well, maybe because he's cheating on his wife. Think about that. Okay. So you're willing to sneak around. And some of her friends said that she liked the excitement, of, sneaking around with him and all the mystery of it all. And I'm with him and nobody knows. So, this dude's not stupid. If that's what was happening, he knew how to play this game, to have these women on the side and tell them they couldn't be public, and nothing could be public, and he had to be sneaky about it. And apparently a lot of women went along with him. So if that's true, if it's true what they say. So the problem is, because of this, we hear from this woman, we hear from other women. We can't hear from Chandra because she's no longer here, but she did tell friends and her aunt things that definitely led to thinking this dude was involved with a relationship. Now, why is this all important? So anyway, when she went missing, let me go back to why she went missing. Okay, the exact time she went missing. All right, so Levy, Chandra here, was last seen on May 1st, 2001. The Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia was first alerted on May 6th when Levy's parents called from Modesto, California, to report they had not heard from the daughter in 5 days. So they knew something was wrong at this point, that their daughter was not responding. She was missing. And so Levy's father told the police that his daughter had been having an affair with a U.S. congressman, and said the next day that he believed the congressman to be U.S. Representative Gary Condit. Levy's aunt also called the police and told them that Chandra had confided in her about the affair. Police obtained a warrant on May 10th to conduct a formal search of Levy's apartment, Investigators found her credit cards, identification, and mobile phone left behind in her purse, along with a partially packed suitcase. She was leaving. She had lost her internship and she was having to go back to California. So this was actually the day before, well, not the day before, but she was planning to leave very shortly. She had already told the landlord she had to move. She had canceled her gym membership, which is important. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, basically she was going to have to leave town. And so the investigators found her credit cards, identification, and mobile phone left behind in her purse. This is also important because supposedly the women said that when they went out with Condit, he told them never to bring their ID with him. With them. Never bring their ID with them when they're with him. Which I don't even get this. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand. So if somebody wants to tell me what the heck this means, I don't get it. Because I don't understand what that's going to make any difference if you have your ID in your purse. I don't get that at all. It makes no sense. So, but if somebody got a clue on that one, let me know. Yeah, I like this one. Lisa says here, it takes two to tango. Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, that is very, very true. But so the whole thing about the ID was that when she went missing, she didn't even take the ID with her. Or her phone. I'm more concerned about the phone than the ID. There's times when I take my phone and my keys, but I do not take my ID. I don't necessarily take my ID every place I go. If I'm going to go for a walk around the block, I'll take my keys and I'll take my phone because in case, something happens, like I break my foot or something, I want to be able to call and get some help. Or I just want to know who the heck's texting me. I want to know. I got an iPhone. I might check things while I'm walking. I would not leave my phone ever, but my ID, quite frankly, I don't really care. So I don't know that whole issue about the ID. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And this is always very true, Elizabeth. And I find this weird. Women always seem to think a cheating man will be faithful to her. I never understand that concept. Once you're a lying bastard, you're a lying bastard, and once you're the kind of woman who will help a man cheat on his wife, I'm not thinking you're so good either. Sorry, I have issues with that because there's a wife out there and children, and you're destroying their lives. If I don't care what he tells you, what phony baloney crap he tells you about how he's not sleeping with his wife, he's not getting along with his wife, he's about to get a divorce. You know what my answer is, dude? When you show me the divorce paper, we'll have a chat. Until then, stay away from me. I don't want to hear from you. I want to see I want to know your wife died. I want to know you divorced. And until then, and I also want to know it's been a while. I don't want to date you after a few months because I'm not just a rebound. I want to know that you're over that person and you no longer have a relationship and there's no hope to going back. Because sometimes people get divorced, but then they reattach because that's the person they've always been with. So, I'm going to let enough time go by that you're over that person and that person's not going to return to your life. And I'm not ruining the chance of that person returning because your family was your family. And I'm not going to interfere with your family unless it's completely null and void. So that's my little soapbox on that. Anyway, so at any rate, she disappears. And so what happens is they go to her house and they find that she has left her credit cards, identification, and mobile phone. The answering machine was full, messages left by her relatives, and 2 from Condit. He called the day after, and then he called a number of days later. And then they got the laptop computer and they kind of screwed that up. They inadvertently corrupted the internet search data. I have no idea how they did that. And then later on, a month later, they managed to actually reconstruct it. They found that she had been to different websites. She had gone to Amtrak, Baskin-Robbins, Condit, Southwest Airlines, a weather report, and her final search at 12:59. And this is very important. Whoa, I didn't know that one. Wait a minute. It was Alsace or Lorraine, a region of France. Maybe she wanted to go to France. Okay, that's not important. A particular search at 11:33 a.m. was for information about Rock Creek Park in the Washington Post Entertainment Guide. And she clicked up a link that brought up the map of the park. Detectives later theorized that she might have met someone at the Pierce Klingle Mansion, which houses the park headquarters. Okay, So on July 25th, May, April, May, wow, that's a long time. Okay. It took them a long time to figure out the girl's missing. Really, really missing. But because a month, let's say, okay, wait a minute. So May 1st was when she went missing. And then June was when they figured out that, what was on her computer and that she had accessed the Rock Creek Park link. So then they went on July 25th, which seems a long time away. 3 DC police sergeants and 28 police cadets searched along Glover Road in the park, but failed to find evidence related to Levy. Later, a second attempt found nothing. Okay, so essentially, they had 2 theories that then cropped up. One is that this dude had something to do with her going missing. Okay. The second one was that she went to Rock Creek Park to, let me show you the place where they said she went to. Hold on a second. The place was called the Klingel Mansion, and it's one of these weird, questionable things. Here it is. Okay. So this is the Klingel Mansion, which is meaningless in itself. I mean, they weren't visiting the Klingel Mansion. It was closed. But theoretically, it could be a spot where these two could have met, or she could have met somebody else at this location, because it would just be a landmark. Okay, I'll meet you at the Klingel Mansion, then we'll go for a walk. Okay, now let me show you where she lives. Now you see where she lives right here. This is Chandra Levy's apartment. Eventually, a year later, they found her remains up here. This was sort of near the Klingel Mansion, but this is a damn long way from here, if you notice it. And so a lot of people who thought that she had maybe just went jogging in this, she just wanted to go jogging in Rock Creek Park, that she pulled up the website, not because of the Klingel Mansion. She just pulled up the website and was looking at different paths. And you kind of do wonder, she did not have a car. So for her to go all the way up here either means she jogged all the way up here, which was about 4 miles or something, or she caught a cab up here, kind of weird, or took the metro up here, also kind of weird, because near her house, she could have gone running. There was lots of places around here to go for a run. People said because she gave up her gym membership and she just canceled it, that's why she went out running. She definitely had running style, in my opinion, running style clothes on. She could have gone for a walk. She could have gone for a run. But this was a relatively long way. Now, her house is here, and Condit's house was somewhere here. And then, so his house was actually about here, I think. So the question is, did he call her or let her know, I'll meet you at the Klingel Mansion? That's what the theory could be. It's okay. It's something like that. It's enough of a ways that you question whether, unless she was like a marathon runner, she would run all the way up and back. So she would have to have some other way to get there. So it's a little weird on that. Now, Coyne says, was thinking she was not killed where she was found. This is one of the theories, and I'm going to get into that theory. So, but right now, all they know is that Chandra this is what she looked up this thing in Rock Creek Park. That's all they know. Now, meanwhile, he's getting a hell of a media shitstorm. Let's put it that way. So he decides he's going to go on TV to ameliorate the problems he's having with the media, because they are all over this. Because, let's face it, one of the things he says in his book is that the media was unfair, outrageous, ridiculous, and just nothing but tabloid crap. Well, he is actually correct about that. I'm not going to argue that point. He's right. I mean, they didn't care about the truth. They didn't care about the facts. They're like, guess what? He's having an affair with Chandra Levy, even if it's not proven. He did this, he did that, all kinds of crazy stuff. So finally he decides he's got to fix this problem. So he goes on Connie Chung. And it's just so weird to me, because I said, I know I talked with Connie about this case, and I wish I could pull up that DVD and see what I even said about it. But I know she had this thing with him, and something wasn't sitting right about it. And it was actually a PR disaster, an absolute PR disaster. Now you ask, why was it a PR disaster? Well, she asked him over and over, Did you have a relationship with Chandra Levy? Did you kill Chandra Levy? Did you hire somebody to kill Chandra Levy? She went on and on. He was steadfast in what he said. But it was interesting. He was so steadfast that it was memorized, literally memorized. He repeated some things word for word over and over again, which made him look like a fake, that he's not telling the truth because he memorized a PR statement. Now, let me show you the statement that he put up there, because I think this is really telling exactly what the truth is. Okay, let me find it here. All right. Where did I put it? Okay, here it is. Okay. Let's say, this is just one segment of the show, but I think it just tells the truth. Condit says, well, I met Chandra last October. We became very close. I met her in Washington, D.C. Well, first of all, originally he said he'd only seen her a couple of times in his office. That's not very close. So his story changed quite often and in other words, it went from, I hardly know her, to we're very close. So Chung asked, very close, meaning what, Mr. Condit? Condit says, we had a close relationship. I liked her very much. Now, I'm sorry, but if I were his wife, I wouldn't appreciate him having a close relationship or that he liked her very much. That is not acceptable for a congressman to have a, quote, close relationship with an intern in DC who's very, very young. So Connie Chung says, may I ask you, was it a sexual relationship? And this is the answer that just makes me grin as a criminal profiler. Condit says, well, Connie, and this is his memorized one. He said this exact words. He must have practiced this in front of a mirror. He did it with no expression, and he repeated it over and over during the interview. Well, Connie, I've been married for 34 years, and I've not been a perfect man, and I've made my share of mistakes. But out of respect for my family and out of a specific request from the Levy family, I think it is best that I not get into those details about Chandra Levy. What does that say? He's admitted to making mistakes, not even a mistake. Mistakes. In other words, he's admitting right there that it is likely he's had more than one illicit relationship outside of his marriage. And there are women who've already come forth to say that this is true. And then he goes on to say he won't talk about Chandra Levy. Well, it's very clear to me as a profiler that this indicates that he is actually, we can't say admitting, he's actually alluding to the fact that they did indeed have a relationship, possibly a sexual relationship. Well, let me take that back. Almost entirely likely it was a sexual relationship, because what is a 50-some-year-old man doing with a 20-some-year-old girl who probably is not, she's meeting with him in an illicit relationship? I'm sure they're just not having coffee. And he says, we're very close. That indicates it is likely a sexual relationship. He's just not admitting it. Now, at other points, he points out how it was not a romantic relationship. I believe the dude there. You know why I believe him? Because I don't believe he is interested in a romantic relationship with other women. I believe he's interested in a sexual relationship with other women. That he, yeah, I think he's got that personality. He seems to, according to the women who say he had all these rules for them, like if they visited him at his apartment, they had to press the elevator button, and if anybody got on the elevator with them, they were to go to a different floor so that no one would know what floor they were going to, and then they would come to his place eventually. And they talk about his controlling how they met and what they would do. So I'm going to say likely there's a very controlling and manipulative man. So I don't think he's interested in a romantic relationship. I think he's interested in a sexual relationship with other women. And his romantic relationship, what he would call romantic, is with his wife, which is why he stayed with her. And oddly, she stayed with him. Go figure. And but maybe she's accepted. He cats around, and she's accepted that's the kind of dude he is. So she can live with that. as long as he comes back to her. She's, lady number one. If you want to have a little fling on the side in Washington, I don't really care. Or, yeah, I do care, but I'm going to, I want to be with you. And so I'm going to accept it. So he's basically alluding to the fact that he's made mistakes, which is illicit relationships, because he's not talking about made mistakes like I didn't buy my wife the right present for her birthday. I mean, what he's talking about is sexual relationships, and he's alluding to the fact that, yes, I've made mistakes. So he's actually, in my opinion, as a profiler, confessing to having sexual relationships, and the fact that he won't say that he did not have a sexual relationship with Chandra indicates that he did. So but he won't admit it, and he won't admit it, and he won't admit it, and in his own book he won't admit it. So he's still to this day saying he did not. He'll actually come forth in other places and say he did not have that kind of relationship with Chandra, which is kind of ridiculous. So anyway, if he's bitching about the firestorm of the media going after him, dude, it's your fault. It's your fault, because if you're catting around on your wife with interns in Washington, you deserve everything you get. The media is, I've got issues with the media myself, and I don't like the way they behave, but damn, I don't like the way you behave either. So, hey, you met your match. Too darn bad. So he did this with her, and he lost his career, essentially. After that, people are like, yeah, he had a relationship with her, and he's a lying dog. And so he lost his next election. Destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. And then, oddly, what happened right after that was 9/11. And so this was a massive story in Washington. And then 9/11 came and wiped out the interest in the story, because, let's face it, 9/11, all the people dying in 9/11 and the threat of war and the threat of terrorism was much more interesting than one girl went missing in Washington, except to the Levy family. So everything went quiet then. But I want to point out one more thing about his supposed relationship with women, because this may come into play a little bit later. Okay, so remember this woman, the airline flight attendant, let me say it right, the airline flight attendant. She claimed that when she was over at Condit's apartment, staying overnight, that she found ties underneath his bed, like ties that men wear, but they were tied together. And she's like, what the heck is this? Or like, does this look like a bondage thing? And he's like, oh, yeah, I thought it might be fun with you. Yeah. And anyway, she was, I guess, not pleased. And but the question of bondage issues came up in this case. Like, was it possible that he was like involved in a sexual bondage thing with her, that then something went wrong during it and she died? I'm bringing that up because that's a theory. Okay. Now, before you think that's a completely ridiculous theory, let me show you what's in his book. And this is what absolutely blew me away. And I'm still stunned over it. So anyway, his book starts out, and the beginning of his book is the first two and a half chapters are about, his political career, and he's kissing his wife goodbye, and he's saying, oh, honey, let's have some coffee. And he's just sweet with his wife, and he's talking about political issues and all this stuff. And then suddenly, like then I think it's the third chapter, the end of the second chapter, the beginning of the third chapter, just out of nowhere in this book comes this. And I'm not going to read all of it because I'm like, what the heck is this? I mean, it came out of the blue. There was no preface to it. I'm like, he was talking about politics, and then boom, this. Okay, so you can see this is from the book, Actual Malice, a True Crime Political Thriller. Condit, you see the name Condit here. Condit spelled Khandet, which is kind of fascinating because, of course, that's a version of Condit, but spelled as maybe Middle Eastern, possibly a Saudi, possibly Indian, Pakistani name, Khan, Khan. Okay, so Condit. Okay, now look, he's on it. This dude is in a chat room. Okay, obviously talking sex in a chat room. You're not the typical slut around here, Mary. And Mary says, winds around your leg again, pressing in close and rubbing her face along her thigh. Condit, no, wait, I'm supposed to use you like a slutty toy. And then I'm not going to read the next part of that because that's crude. And then later on, he says, I have a surprise party for a retiring member. Then she says, who's retiring? Budget chairman. She giggles. Anyway, are we going to meet? It's a bit unequal yoke because you're so young. Okay, this is a chat room discussion. Can anybody tell me what the heck is this doing in the middle of your book? This is his book. This isn't somebody else's book. This is his book. And I'm like, you just threw a sex chat in here with no explanation. Why? And he approved this book for publication. He knows it's in there. And, for a minute there, I was so stunned that I'm thinking, is this like some kind of weird glitch? Did somehow somebody, somehow some troll or something, some kind of weird, person who's like inserted this into the Kindle version? I mean, to get back at him or something. I was so like blown away. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it is some kind of weird thing that somehow this got inserted into his book without his knowledge. I'm thinking of all kinds of like chicanery on the internet and with people who are brilliant with this kind of stuff. So the book goes on and on and on and on. And then 2/3 of the way, oh, this is a good point. Coyne says, is this Duper's delight? This is a good question. And keep that in mind. Let me read to you the next part. So I'm like, he just threw this in the book for no reason. What the heck is this? 2/3 of the way through the book. I mean, I had to read 2/3 of the way through the book. And then this popped up. Okay. You know where this is coming from, Gary asked rhetorically? That Condit bullshit in the computer chat rooms. Gary being, okay, Gary Condit is saying there's some information, some damage being done on the internet. Just before Chandra had disappeared, Dayton, that's one of his buddies, discovered one of Gary's staff members used a work computer to enter sex chat rooms under the alias Condit. The computer logs were compiled by Congress's information technology team and delivered to Dayton, so he had the proof needed to fire the employee, which he intended to do. But Gary insisted the employee not be fired and instead be warned, quote, to keep that shit in his private life and out of the office. You think someone inside the building would leak those Condit files? Dayton replied. I do. The press got a hold of those records and they think I'm Condit. They already think I'm on a sex club circuit. Gary couldn't help but laugh as the words came out. 2/3 of the way through the book. Now, in my opinion, wouldn't that sex chat thing, be better left out completely? And just when you get to that point, they could just refer to that. But he puts it in the beginning of the book. Like it's like in your face, in your face. And then 2/3 of the book later, let me explain that. It's some other dude in the place that used a fake name that looked like my name. And I didn't want to fire him because I'm a nice guy. Why? So the question is, why is this even in the book? It's his book. If I were him, I wouldn't even put it in the damn book because it just stands out like a sore thumb. Why did he do that? And there's only a couple reasons I can come. yeah. Publisher's printing error. Not happening. Nope. Okay, so here would be my theory on this. The Duper's delight thing? Yes, I think so, because I wouldn't want that in my book. I am supposed to be a happily married man. I am supposed to be a happily married man who maybe made a few mistakes, but I'm just helping people. And maybe I had a little sex with them, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to put porn in my book. My book. Somebody else might want to do that to me, but why would I want to put porn right there in a very, very explicit porn thing in my book? And I'd say you're right. Duper's delight. He got a cheap ass thrill out of it. And it is bizarre. And then the fact that then he tries to explain it so later in the book, I'm like, I think it seems to me that this information must have been out there somewhere, and he was afraid somebody would come across it. So he felt he had to put it in his book and explain it away. I have a hard time believing it's somebody else in his office used a fake name like his and was talking about sex and bondage, and also was talking about how young the girl was, which he liked younger women, and then also talked about political things. I find that a little bit unlikely. So I really wonder who was Khandet. And I'd like to see the proof of that. And I do not know because I've never seen it elsewhere. But it seems like he felt like he had to get ahead of this or address it in some way. But yet in the same hand, he put this right in the front of the book, the porn part. And I'm like, why would you do that except you think it's actually cool? And the reason this is important is because people do think he might have been into some kind of bondage thing. And so did this lady, thinking that, the ties. Did he use bondage on Chandra Levy and something went wrong? Because sometimes things do go wrong in those circumstances. And then she accidentally died, and then he had to remove her body. That is a theory. Now, and also this is probably true. He wants us to believe he's being set up. That may be true. He may want to believe that everybody's against him, that there are people in the office trying to make him look bad, that they were the ones with the bondage stuff going on, and it wasn't him that was into it, and she's a liar. So, but this is just, the reason it's important to mention is because of where her body was found. So let's go to where her body was found. So eventually, a year later, because and I know a lot of people are attacking the police on this, because I didn't find her body earlier in the searches. Now, I said the same thing in the last show I did on the girls that went missing in Panama. Because they did searches and didn't find the girls, there's all these theories out there, ignoring the rest of the evidence, that the girls were kidnapped and kept in some kind of like house or something, and then killed there, and then their bones were disposed of in the river. That explains why they weren't found. It's a jungle. They were in a jungle in Panama. Let me tell you, with all the ravines and all the water there, you can get stuck in a place where you cannot be found by dogs or humans. You're just overlooked. Well, they searched Rock Creek Park. Oh, let me show you the other picture. Now, there's a claim that they searched, and I'm not saying that's probably maybe not an issue. Okay, so you see over here, okay, so here again is Chandra Levy's apartment. Her remains are way up here, but they see the road here. There's a road, and they searched like 100. I can't remember if it's 100 feet, 100 yards. I'm not good with the measurements, but off the road. But apparently, you see this supposed trail. Her remains were found way off the trail, and they didn't search far enough. Well, because there's a lot of ravines and all kinds of crap in here, and the trail itself is a horse trail, so it's not even a smooth trail. It's like, and not even a good place to jog. So it's really weird. Why would she go this far from her apartment up here, then jog on a trail that's so isolated without a cell phone even for emergencies? Why would she run on this thing and, on a trail that's very uncomfortable, so isolated? Why would she do that? That is a long time question. Okay. So now let's look at so a year later, they do find her, but how did they find her is like this. Okay. So a dude looking for turtles, I don't know why he was looking for turtles in this location in the park, but anyway, he's got his dog. He likes looking for turtles. Maybe he likes box turtles. But anyway, his dog starts sniffing around and acting weird. And he goes and he finds, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Let me go back and find what he found. So essentially, he found a skull. He found a skull in the park, right over here. He found the skull. So the theory was, she's jogging along this trail. They're searching around and they never find her. But this guy finds a skull, and he calls the police and says, "I found the skull." And they're like, "Are you sure it's a human skull?" And he's like, "I'm pretty damn sure that it's a human skull." So anyway, the police come back, and now they're searching around where that skull is found, and they find some really interesting things. which leads them. Okay, so they find her sunglasses, they find a shoe, they find a shirt, and they find jogging pants. It's all, and the skull, it proves to be Chandra Levy. Now, so the theory at that point is most likely that she was jogging and somebody attacked her and attempted to either raped her, attempted to rape her, whatever. Now, there's a good reason to believe this. And one of the things that happened when I first looked at this case, and I actually have some information out there and it's still out there, so kind of embarrassing in a way. I heard originally that there were ropes. She was tied up with a rope. This is the original information that came out. And so the question was, if a serial killer attacked her, serial killers do not run around in parks carrying a rope with them so they can tie up their victims. That makes no sense whatsoever. They don't do that. They just hit them over the head and rape them and they're done with it. Why would he tie her up with a rope? That makes zero sense. Or did he bring it with him? That's the kind of thing you keep in your trunk, and when you grab a girl and you take her to your house and put her in your basement or whatever, you have time to work with it. It made little sense to me. So I didn't go with that. That just didn't work for me. However, it turns out, which I didn't know then, that this shirt was inside out. The pants were inside out, and they had ties in the bottom of the pants. Both legs had a tie in them. Now, that's interesting because when you're raping somebody and you rip their clothes off, if you rip off their shirt, it's usually going to end up inside out. If you pull their pants off, they're going to end up inside out. So in other words, her body wasn't just thrown there with her shirt and pants on and her body, then her body, everything went, a year in the woods and it's decomposed and then the animals take away the bones, but the shirt is just there and the pants are just there. No, the shirt was inside out and the pants were inside out. So that indicates somebody pulled those things off of her. The ties in them, it's interesting. It's not ropes. So would a serial killer possibly, after he rips the pants off, just tie up her hands and feet or tie up some part of her body so that she wouldn't fight him? That is possible. So this is actually the inside out, this and the inside out, this and the ties, the ties that were used with clothes that were already there at the scene do indicate, or more likely indicate, a serial killer, rapist type of guy. Now, one of the reasons that this became such an issue earlier, as far as where her body was found, was that location. See if I can go back to where her location is. Okay, this location here, where she was found, is also Condit's apartment. Is sort of like right about. I guess it's right about there. But you can drive up here, and there's places to pull in. There's actually a picnic area where you can actually dump the body down a ravine. And therefore, it's an easy place to dump a body. And actually, if she would be jogging up here is less likely than somebody would just pull up here and dump a body down there into the ravine. So that's why the theory about Condit has continued, because interesting that that's a good location. But then again, you wonder, why is the clothes inside out? Originally, if she had ropes tied on her, if it was just her body with the ropes tied on, sometimes people, when they put a body in the trunk, they tie it up so that when they throw it down the ravine, it doesn't like this and block it. The body will roll properly, or it's easier to carry and toss. So if I heard ropes, I'm not thinking a serial killer. I'm thinking maybe somebody drove up there with a car and dumped her. So that was interesting. However, so anyway, a year goes by. Actually, 10 years goes by. Nope. Condit is not found guilty of anything. He loses his career, but they don't come up with any proof that he met with her. They say he's got an alibi for the whole day. One of the alibis is with the vice president, but there is a space in the afternoon when she went missing that theoretically could have met her at the Klingel mansion. That is very questionable. It's really hard to prove how much time he had, but it is possible he could have said, instead of something. Now, let me mention, let's see, at 4 o'clock, about 4 a.m., before the morning that she disappeared, a woman in the apartment said she heard a blood-curdling scream coming from her Chandra's apartment. She called the police, and apparently they went over there, and there were some notes. Something was pushed under her door, but at any rate, there was this blood-curdling scream supposedly. And you would think if that were true, she was killed at 4 o'clock in the morning by somebody. And then who was on the, but yet all morning long, somebody was on the computer looking up all kinds of stuff and looking up the Klingel mansion. And then eventually, person's gone. Now, it does appear that Condit has an alibi for the entire time that she was supposedly on the computer. So you could think somebody killed her, dumped her in the night. Yep, he could have killed her, driven her to this location, dumped her down there, staged it as a serial killer, because maybe he did think, I'll just pull these clothes off of her like she was raped, and I'll tie her up with her pants and throw her down there. Condit's not a stupid man. He's very slick. He's manipulative and slick. I wouldn't put it past his abilities to come up with that concept and then dump her down the thing at that location. It's very possible. However, the question is, who was then on the computer all morning long? If she was dead by then, who was on her computer? Looking at all these things. Now, one would say it could be him, except he did have an alibi during that time. So it's hard to say somebody else was on there looking up this history, unless there was completely a screw up on the internet search. I mean, when they went and looked at, they crashed the thing and then it came back. Maybe they came back with the wrong day. I don't know. You could come up with all kinds of theories on that, but I don't know that any of those theories would be true. As far as I know, she was actually on the internet that morning, as far as the evidence available to the public that we know. So the other theory could be that Condit, he finished his little discussion with the vice president, and then supposedly he was busy, but there was actually, like, say, a 3-hour downtime. Could he have already planned to meet her at the Klingel mansion to go for a walk? And they went for a walk, and then she told him she was going to go public, or she was pregnant, and then he attacked her, and he said, I got to make this look like a homicide, a rapist. So he pulled their clothes off and tied her up a little bit and then walked away. Is it possible? If he had the time frame to do it, I do not know that he did, and this is problematic. So anyway, the Washington Post comes and writes this huge story about the case, huge story, and all of a sudden this guy comes to light. This guy is all right. We have a couple interesting issues here. There were 2 possible suspects. This guy is Ingmar Guandique. He's from El Salvador. He's a legal immigrant. Came up. He was working some odd jobs, doing lawn work and stuff like that. Drinking heavily, drugs, beating up his girlfriend. Not a great character. Apparently, also raped a girl in El Salvador. So, not such a great character. Anyway, so he attacked a woman. This is where Levy's body was found. He attacked a woman here. Supposedly he was sitting on a curb. This woman went running by, and he attacked her. He jumped her. He had a knife. She got away from him. I don't know. She was like, a couple of these women he picked were like really strong women. So I'm like, what's wrong with you, dude? You can't, you really pick bad victims. Anyway, she got away from him. And then later on, Chandra Levy was actually killed before this happened. So this was later, and then this was much later, or vice versa. But these 2 crimes came later after Chandra Levy's demise. So he attacked somebody here, and that's true. There's not an issue about it. Then he attacked another woman up here. So he was all over Rock Creek Park, but mostly he was kind of near where you enter the park. So he wasn't like deep into the trails, but then he supposedly followed the woman and then attacked her. One of the women was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend ran ahead of her because they were both jogging and he was faster. When he got ahead of her, then Guandique came up behind her and attacked her, and she fought back and survived. So he claims that he attacked these women because he was trying to steal money from them because he was supporting a drug habit. Now, I don't know, but joggers don't usually carry a shitload of money on them. You wonder, is that the great place to attack people to get money? I'm going to say BS. I'm going to say more likely he was attempting to rape them and didn't get to that point. So anyway, he was a suspect because this jailhouse snitch came up. Let me show you Mr. Jailhouse Snitch. So this guy was in jail with him and said that he had, this guy over here said he had confessed to killing Chandra Levy. And he had claimed he wasn't trying to rape her. He just was trying to get her money. He attacked her. He didn't know he killed her. He grabbed her fanny pack. Fanny pack is interesting because I never even heard of her owning a fanny pack, and I can't find any information on any fanny pack. Now, it's true that a lot of women do jog with fanny packs. I never have personally. I do this with my phone. That's what I do with my keys too. It's called a sports bra. So I don't use a fanny pack. That's where my keys and my phone go. But women do, but I never heard of her even having one. But again, are you really going to, you stole a what did you think was in there? Like $1? You know, what did you think was in a fanny pack when women go jogging? So theoretically, all she had in a fanny pack was her keys, because she didn't even take her phone or her ID, and she didn't take her wallet. So it would have been just her keys. They claimed that her ring was gone and her jewelry was gone. The bracelet Condit gave her, and then her mother the ring. And it's hard to know if that's true or not, because her body was found a year later, and animals do pick up glittery things and take them away, and you never see them again. So did Guandique, let's go back to Guandique, did Guandique assault her in the park like he did the other two women because he wanted to rob her, and maybe he did take her ring and her bracelet and her fanny pack, or did he rape her? And that time he was successful because he killed her in doing so, and maybe tied her up and then raped her. And then, rapists will also take, if you're going to rape somebody and you've killed them, you might as well take the jewelry and their fanny pack, because you might as well get a little extra something out of it. You know what I mean? So, that he would do that is not unreasonable. So he became a suspect. Now, this guy actually was a suspect too. He was a fellow. If you look up here at the map, this was an interesting, this dude here, Cook, he actually, up here is his home, and there was an attack right here. He actually raped and murdered a jogger up in Montgomery County, Maryland. And this is the case I always talk about, because the dude had big, huge feet, and the police chief fought his own department about releasing that information, and he did. And he actually tried to dump the shoes, and somebody saw him doing it, and then it was found. So then it was matched to him, and he went down. So he is a serial killer who got caught. Now they're claiming that this dude wouldn't have committed this crime because she was further down in the park, but yet it's okay for this guy to commit the crime, even though he commits a crime like this. So how does this make sense? They claimed he was like mentally deficient. He was like a low IQ. So even though he could rape and murder one woman and try to hide the evidence, he couldn't go further in the park, happen to be down here one day and murder Chandra Levy. Makes no sense. So is he the possible guy who really did it? I don't know, because they eliminated him for reasons that make no sense, because he wouldn't have gone that far. No, that's ridiculous profiling. Whoever profiled that is wrong. He could easily have been down there for some other reason and ran into Chandra Levy. Or it could be Guandique, because he obviously was also in the park raping women. So serial killer, serial rapist / serial killer, I'm good with both of them. Either one of them could have done it. Now, does that eliminate Condit? Well, no, because meanwhile, by the way, I forgot to mention this, Condit, after the police were looking at him and went to search his apartment, he went off to Virginia. He lives in DC, but he went off to Alexandria, Virginia, and threw away a watch box in a trash can. I mean, most bizarre thing ever. And he's got an explanation in his book, which is so stupid you wouldn't believe it. But anyway, that he goes over there to get rid of this watch box. Well, some dudes saw him, because they saw him on TV, and they're like, man, that's Gary Condit. And he's throwing away the something in the trash can. What is it? And so he went and called the police, and the police found this, just a watch box. Apparently some woman like 7 years ago who he had been close to gave him a watch, and this was the watch box. Why was he throwing it away in Alexandria? That's one of the reasons he became such a huge suspect, because he's trying to hide stuff. He's trying to hide his relationships with other women. Now, does that mean he killed Chandra Levy? No, it doesn't. It does mean that he's got a habit of what looks like extramarital sex and hiding things, and that he's a lying dog to his wife, a lying dog to the public, and lying dog to the police, because he's hiding evidence from the police that he doesn't want them to get a hold of. So liar, 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 pants on fire. Did you also kill Chandra Levy? So that is here's this stupid jerk again who I'm trying to eliminate, blocking the user of this weird guy. Okay, Mr. This is some weird porn dude here. I guess maybe block user. Okay, I'm trying to get rid of this guy. Okay. I tell you, it's so weird. Anyway, just ignore Mr. Loveface, who has girls for you. Okay. So anyway, so now we've got 3 suspects. We've got this guy, that they've eliminated, and Condit, who they've now eliminated because Mr. Jailhouse Snitch said that he confessed to the crime. And now, some of the stories that supposedly he said how he attacked her, he didn't mention tying her with the clothes there. He said things that didn't quite ring true. So the question is, did he really kill her? Well, anyway, it went to trial. He was arrested, went to trial. He got convicted. Now, let me see if I can tell you about the conviction here. The trial. Okay, so what did they have in the trial? So this guy over here, this is a fake from the documentary, so it's not really the dude, I don't believe. His name was, the prosecution's witness is Armando Morales, who shared a cell with Guandique in a penitentiary in Kentucky. He testified that Guandique was concerned about being transferred between prisons because of inmate violence. And he states that he was part of the Mara Salvatrucha gang, that's the MS-13, and confided to him that he killed Levy while trying to rob her, but that he did not rape her. The claim is here that he didn't want to be considered a rapist because you get attacked for being a rapist. So he only, I didn't rape her, I just killed her. I've heard that one before. Well, Son of Sam said the same thing. So at any rate, he claimed that he had murdered her. Or no, the snitch claimed that he said that he had murdered her. So anyway, based on that and the fact that 2 other women were raped in the park by Guandique, he was convicted, which kind of always amazed me, because I'm thinking, really? I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good suspect, but is a jailhouse snitch and the fact that he committed similar crimes enough? There was not a physical link to the crime scene. There was nothing that linked Guandique to the murder of Chandra Levy outside of Mr. Snitch and similar crimes in the park. I say great suspect. I'm not sure that that's proof. Anyway, he goes to prison. Then it turns out some woman, it gets insane. So you have to watch a documentary to get all of this. Some woman runs into this guy after he's paroled, and they have some kind of little relationship. And then she starts taping him because she's creeped out by him. And supposedly he says he made the whole thing up about Guandique. It was totally fabricated. He wanted a better deal from the prison people and, from whatever. So he lied and made up the story about Guandique. Well, that just blew this out of the water. So what happened was let's see how, okay. So let's see where this goes here. Okay. Oh, also, he said he was never an informant, and he was an informant. So he lied. So on June 3rd, 2015, the defense said that a new witness, a neighbor, that's about the blood-curdling scream. That was not entered into the information in the court case. So they're saying because that scream wasn't put in there as a possible, hey, she was killed in her apartment, and this dude lied about being an informant, and quite frankly, his testimony is crap anyway. On June 4th, 2015, the judge granted a motion for a new trial, and they set the retrial for March 1st of 2016. Then they moved it to October. Then in November, the prosecutors told the DC Superior Court that because of all the problems here, the charges should be dismissed because of prosecutorial errors. Then on July 28th in 2016, the prosecutors announced they would not proceed with the case against Guandique and would instead seek to have him deported. El Salvador, thank you. It's interesting. Guandique actually didn't want to be deported because he didn't want to go back to El Salvador. He said he was in danger there. And it's kind of funny that if you're up for killing somebody in the U.S., I think you'd want to get the hell out of the U.S. But maybe he didn't kill Chandra Levy, and he thought he would never be charged again, and he'd rather stay. But anyway, he got deported. But they determined that they wanted him deported. So, yes, prosecutors lost confidence in the case after learning that Morales, who now lives in Maryland, oh my God, he lives in Maryland near me. I did not know that. Oh, great. Was secretly recorded admitting lying on the witness stand during the 2010 trial. Babs Prowler, the woman who made the recording, turned it over to the police. And so there was no longer enough evidence to go forward with a retrial, and that ended this. So what we have now is we've got our suspects. Guandique, who was a good suspect, if Chandra Levy really went running in the park and on a trail was weird for her to run on because it was so isolated and not really a comfortable trail to run on because it was a horse trail and was kind of like this, and you trip over that stuff. She had so many places closer to home that she could have run, taken a walk, that were in the open, that were safe. And yet her friends say, Chandra didn't trust running in unsafe places. Yet she went way far away from her home, 4 miles away, to go running on a horse trail. And doesn't even take her phone. And then Guandique just happens to be there and kills her. Okay. If she did that, if she went up here and was running on that trail, I'm okay with Guandique. He is a serial rapist / possible serial killer. He's a good suspect. This dude, I still think is a good suspect because if he's a serial killer up here, he could be a serial killer down here. I don't have an issue with that either. But a lot of it depends on the whole issue of, did Chandra Levy go running on the trail, or did she plan to meet somebody somewhere and go for a walk and they did her in, or is something really, really freaky and she actually didn't, she died during the early morning hours and she never went to the park and was dumped there. These are all the questions. Now, will we ever have any answers? And unlike the case I talked about last Sunday about the Dutch girls who went missing in Panama, in my opinion, there was never any evidence in that case that there was a third party involved, that the girls went for a hike, they made a bad choice, they ended up getting lost, they ended up spending 10 days trying to survive and died. Never any evidence pointing anywhere else. But in this particular interesting case, it's more confusing. And even as a profiler, I generally speaking have an absolute answer as to what I think. Not that I'm right, but that I have the evidence all points to this. I don't have that here because I don't know about her going running in that park. And I can't, a lot of years have passed, 20 years. I can't remember if I went to the park to check that trail out, because I want to take somebody with me just in case one of those guys is still lurking around, or some new guy. I don't know what that trail was really like. So I can't, if you go to a place yourself as a profiler, you go, holy crap, there's no way this girl was running on this trail. This is ridiculous. She wouldn't have done that. She would have gone this way, but she would never have gone up here. That's what a lot of people say. I haven't seen that, so I can't prove that she wouldn't have done that. I don't have enough information on her to know whether she would have just, on a whim did something like that. I don't understand why she would go so far from home. There's so many other places to run near her home, even in the park, that are public, where you run and people run by you. What would be the reason for her to go to an isolated location 4 to 5 miles from her home to go running? I can't come up with a good reason for that. and not take her phone. I'm sorry. I don't understand why she wouldn't take her phone. So the question is, did she go meet somebody? Did somebody call her? And that I don't see any phone information about that somebody called her and said, like, come and meet me downstairs. And then she ran downstairs and jumped in a cab or in somebody's car and went someplace with them and took a walk. And then something went wrong on that walk. I don't know. So I'm left at this point where I can say, if she went running in that park, I have no problem with a serial killer killing her. I have no problem with a Ingmar Guandique or this other Cook dude. I can't say which one it was because I don't have proof of who was there. I don't have a problem if she went running on that horse trail. If she didn't go running on that horse trail and went to meet someone, the only person I can think that she would meet would be Condit, who was a lying dog. He lied about his relationships. He was lying about the evidence to the police. He's hiding things. Now, he may have done that just to save his political career. May have nothing to do with what happened to Chandra. He may be right. I have nothing to do with Chandra's death. I'm just a jerk. I'm a jerk who wants to save my political butt. And I don't want to admit things because it'll ruin my career, which it did, mind you. So he may have nothing to do with her death. Everything to do with things that happened before her death, but not her death. So if she went running willingly in this park, I'd say a serial killer. If she didn't go running in this park and went to meet somebody, he ain't looking good. He would be the only suspect in that scenario. So that's where I'm going to leave that because I can't go any further with it, but I think it's a fascinating case. Let me check out some of your comments now as to what happened to Chandra and who did her in. Okay. All right, here's some questions. Okay, Molly says, why would Chandra half pack a suitcase, search the internet here and there, and this and that, and then suddenly go phoneless several miles away to jog in an isolated spot? Well, okay. As far as the suitcase part goes, she could be getting ready to leave. Some things we can't make too much of. When they've made a huge issue about her not taking her ID with her. And I'm telling you, I never took an ID with me when I go running either. It's never with me. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. I forgot. I do have this phone case and my ID is in here. I take it back. It is with me, but it's not with me because I purposely am bringing the ID with me. In other words, if I had a wallet and I put my stuff in a wallet, I just hate carrying wallets. But if I had a wallet and a phone, I would leave my wallet in my car when I go running. Or I'd leave it at home and go for a walk without my wallet. I would just have my phone and keys. That's all I would have. The only reason I have it is because I use this because I hate wallets. So that she doesn't have her ID, I think, is meaningless. Except for the fact he always said, don't bring your ID, which is, again, a rumor. Women say he said that. I don't even understand the concept of it because if he's caught, somebody takes a photo of him and whoever he's with, they don't need an ID. They can figure out who it is. I don't know what the ID, I don't know what not having an ID serves. I don't see what the purpose is. So I can't fathom that one. That's interesting. Really? People hardly carried phones around in 2001. Is that true? Really? Okay, I'm trying. 2000. Well, let me think. Was that the page? Well, I had a pager, but I also had a pager. But really, nobody carried their phone? A cell phone? If you had a cell phone, interesting. But she had a cell phone. She wouldn't carry that with her. I don't know. That's an interesting point. It may be a cultural thing that over the years we've gotten more obsessed with our phones. But I still think I would have carried. I carried my cell phone back then. I think I did just for emergency purposes. If nothing else, my phone, my card died or something. Martin says I would carry my mobile with me in 2001. I think people did, especially, I guess, jogging in an isolated location. I sure as crap would have my cell phone with me, but could be wrong. Maybe she didn't. And, this is the problem we often have is, people don't always behave like we would behave. And she's young, and I did a lot of things when I was younger that I'm not, like, what the hell did I do that? What was I thinking, We do things at different stages in our lives for different reasons, and then people just do things differently. So we can't always say, because I don't do that, she wouldn't have done that. So I just honestly don't know. Let's see. Oh, my God, you're using payphones. I hardly remember what a payphone is. Oh my God. That's great. Okay. Let's see what Funny says. I have my travel bag packed and in my closet at all times, even if I have no trip plan. It's just the stuff I take on when traveling. Wow. That's impressive. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to have like the carry-on luggage, and in the carry-on luggage would be the things I would use for a trip, so that when the day of the trip came, I wouldn't have to pack. I just take that every time. I take the same carry-on luggage. I get where I'm going, and I have all the necessities in there, the basic clothes and all that. And that's been a plan I've had for 20 years. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to keep working on that. Oh my God. Let's see. Condit could have said he'd meet her, but arranged a hitman there instead. There's a hitman theory. Oh, I want to point out the hitman theory, by the way. There was a hitman theory. I'm going to tell you, okay, I'm going to blank here. Who did he sue? Who did he sue? He sued, okay, I'm going to blank on his name. Dominique Dunn. Okay, Dominique Dunn, who wrote the story about Dominique Dunn's daughter was murdered, and he became an advocate, and he started writing books, and he was the one that wrote the first book on Martha Moxley's murder up in Connecticut, and I didn't like the book. I thought it was not based on good analysis and facts, but he's kind of like a tabloid in himself. Anyway, he went to town on Condit, and he claimed he had some kind of somebody gave him a tip. He had some inside person from the Saudis or something like that, and that he had hired a Saudi like to take her and drop her body in the ocean. And this was before her body was found. So it's like, and he had her killed, and then her body was dropped in the ocean. He got sued huge and big time by Condit. And I'm okay with that, because Dominique Dunn steps over the line, and that's not acceptable. I mean, he had crazy crap that he wrote about him that has no validity whatsoever. He had no proof. And he said, he had this, this person to, source. Kind of like the media always says, I have an inside source, and the source said, and it was outrageous. So he got sued and paid up. He paid up. Hiring a hitman. It's possible. Okay. There are some cases where you would be surprised that somebody hired a hitman, and they do, and you're like, really? It's not very common. And it's especially kind of tricky, because you have to contact the hitman, you got to set things up, and it can get really kind of squirrely. Is that really necessary for him to do? Even if she was going to talk, I mean, would he really have gone to that length? And I can't say he would or wouldn't have. I'm just saying it's unlikely. It's possible. It's possible. But I have no evidence that it ever happened. There's apparently the police. Now, some people will say the police didn't look into him well enough because he was a congressman, and that not so much of a cover up, but just a not looking too hard type of thing. So, I mean, they would have theoretically, they'd have phone records and other things, and theoretically, and they should have found out whether he was in contact with people that are questionable that could commit such a crime. I don't see any evidence of it, but could have happened. Let's see. She was too upscale to jog in that area. I'm not sure I understand that at all. She's not upscale. She was just a little intern. There's nothing wrong with lots of people jog in Rock Creek Park. It's a beautiful park. It's a very large park that goes through the entire city. If you've never seen it, it's lovely, but it's unlike it's got like a river that goes through the whole thing, and trees and all kinds. It's got all kinds of different kinds of areas and picnic grounds. It's a lovely place. Tons of people that are even Congress people and senators go jogging in Rock Creek Park. It's not a creepy little place. It's a beautiful park. I've been in the park. I've done walks in the park. I've done lots of things in that park, and I think I'm upscale. Okay, let's see what else you have to say about this. Let's see. My friend lived near that park. I used to take long runs. I just can't imagine going on a long run deep into those woods without any safety precautions. No phone, alone, etc. It's just too dark and creepy. Now, I just said it wasn't dark and creepy, but you are correct. On the horse trails, they did go in areas where we're far away from other human beings. And they are a little bit creepier in the sense that they're isolated. And again, I think a good portion of women would not do that. But gosh, I have run into women who do that. And I'm like, I remember I would walk in certain trails, like with my husband, and I see this lone woman come walking through, running through, and I'm thinking, girl, get out of the woods. We could have been serial killers. What are you doing back here by yourself without a dog and without a weapon? What are you doing? Yet, obviously, that does happen. So again, we can't say that it didn't. Occam's razor, Farrar Young says, Condit got rid of her somehow, some way. Well, Occam's razor could also be she just went for a run in the park and got attacked by a serial killer. In reality, the serial killer theory is more likely if she went for a run in the park. If she went for a run in the park, I have not an issue with the serial killer at all. Absolutely none, because that is where serial killers strike. They strike in. We have a new serial killer. I might be talking about this at the Hangout this week. It's called the shopping cart serial killer. Anyway, in Virginia, apparently a bunch of women disappeared. I think they were all into prostitution. I have to look into this further. Prostitutes are a very good victim group because people don't miss them right away because they assume they're off doing the thing, or they went off with the pimp, or they're off doing drugs, or whatever they're doing. And they're also easy targets because you say, hey, come over to my, I'll meet you, or I'll pick you up, or come to my place, and then they just disappear. So they're very good targets. So are hitchhikers, because again, if somebody's hitchhiking across the country and a trucker picks up the girl, or somebody else does, and then her body's found in a field months later, because she ran away, because she's hitchhiking or whatever she's doing out there, she's not a stable person, and people aren't expecting stability from her. So that she goes missing is like, yeah, she's probably just somewhere drugging out or whatever she's doing. And then, she's dead. So that's a good group too. The other group, joggers, are the number 3 group because they're women in isolated locations. Joggers, walkers, dog walkers sometimes, because some of those little mutts you take on those walks don't protect you. They just find your dead body, and that dog is like walking around with this leash going, somebody killed my mistress. Because they're isolated locations. That's the whole thing. Other places are apartments, which are accessible, where you're living alone, single person, a single woman in an apartment, single woman coming off a bus going home, parking lots, those kind of places. These are targets. So the park, great target, because if a serial killer, especially in a park like Rock Creek Park, because you don't have to be a real hiker. So if you're like the Shenandoah National Forest, you've got to hike. And so when you find women that are murdered there, they're usually murdered like right near the parking lot. Like the guy could drive up to the parking lot and just walk like less than a mile and then wait. And then a girl comes along and he attacks her because he's just too lazy to go further. But Rock Creek Park, it's right up against neighborhoods. I mean, you can walk in from like so many streets, so many different neighborhoods. You just walk into the park. So any dude could be sitting there in the park, hanging out in a parking lot, sitting on a curb like Guandique, or just taking a short little walk. And then here comes the girl, and he's like, that's mine, So I'm not opposed to the serial killer idea at all. I think it's very rational. But the question is, did she go running in this park, or did she not? Or did she go to meet somebody? And that is remaining the question. And for Condit, all depends whether he has got an absolute alibi or he really doesn't have an absolute alibi. Let's see. Okay. I'm thinking her news of the pregnancy, or Gary may have promised to marry her, but is just pacifying her. Well, yeah, we don't know what happened behind those closed doors, what kind of crap he was telling her. Because, she's like, she's okay with the arrangement, but she's a young girl. Young girls are never okay with that permanent arrangement of being a hidden mistress. They fall in love, or they think they are in love, and they want more and more and more. So, it's a risky thing for a dude like this to hook up with a girl like this, because at some point that girl starts becoming demanding. And apparently, according to people, she was wanting to pressure him into a commitment. And that would be not a good thing. So yes, she could have pressured him to the point where he's like, I want her out of my life. I don't think she'll shut up, or she's pregnant, or she wants me to marry me. She's going to tell the press, whatever she's going to do. I don't know. We don't know what she said to him. We don't know what he said to her. So it is a good motive, which is why he became an excellent suspect. Who the heck is that? Okay, wait a minute. Well, Chandra never got any form of justice. That's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cases that are cold in the United States and elsewhere in the world. And people often think, oh my God, why is there not justice? Well, because a good portion of time people get away with stuff. If you don't have evidence, you can't prove things. And that's just the way it works. Okay. You're telling me that a neighbor of Chandra heard screaming the night she went missing. Yeah, there's this whole thing about that. But the thing that's confusing is if she had not been on the computer in the morning and had this whole thing where it was going on in the morning, one would think something happened in that apartment, and then you would really look there. Also, there was no sign of any blood or anything else in the apartment. So because of the computer, I think it's the computer thing that really locked in that she was alive in the morning. But again, I don't know, because I don't have solid access to determine whether what I'm hearing about the evidence of the computer is accurate and believable. I just don't know. And I think it's going to remain that way. The case, I don't think it's ever going to be opened again. I think it's a closed case. Could Guandique get some kind of deal for confessing to Chandra? Better terms and a sentence. Yeah, a lot of times that's true, actually, suddenly. That's why there are, like, the case of a Todd Collip confessing to the Superbike murders, which if you haven't seen my show on that, please go and check out the video on the Superbike murders. He is a serial killer who was up for a death penalty. He took a confession to 4 people murdered in a motorcycle shop, a mass murder, and he got out of the death penalty with that confession and got life. And he, in my opinion, hands down, evidence shows he did not commit the mass murder. And I explained that in the video. And I will stand by that one. I have no belief that he committed that crime, and I have proof that the police lied about it and the prosecutor lied about it. So anyway, I lied about the evidence. So yes, a lot of times they will, but he had attempted. He did not go down for those two. What I think are attempted rapes. He got attempted burglary on those. So his sentence wasn't that huge. So confessing to Chandra Levy would be stupid, because that's a life sentence, and the other ones were much more minor, because they couldn't prove that he was attempting to rape them because they got away so quickly. So they just called it attempted robbery, not burglary. Sorry, robbery, attempted robbery, and therefore not such a big deal compared to confessing to homicide. So I would say no, in this particular case, that would not be true. That would not make sense. Okay, let's see. Dum da dum, that frigging watch box. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was, I mean, really? No, okay. This guy's supposed to be smart, but I think he's stupid as crap. It's a box. Okay, folks, you tell me. You want to get rid of a box. What do you do to get rid of a box? Do you drive to another state and try to hide it in a trash can? What would you do with a paper box? Somebody tell me, what would you do with a paper box? The stupidest thing I ever heard of in my life. Okay, somebody else tell me. Rather than driving to Virginia to eliminate evidence of a box, a paper box, what would you do? Okay, somebody come up with it. Come on. I'm waiting. Rip it up. He did rip it up, but then he put it in the trash can. What? Even better than rip it up. There you go. Fire up the hearth. Burning things works a lot better. Yeah, burn it. Burn, baby, burn. Yeah, really, burn it. For God's sakes, what are they going to do with it? Oh, you burnt something. Yeah, I did burn something. I was whatever. You know, you burn it on your stove. Then you can throw the stuff in the toilet and flush it. I don't care. You can wash it down the damn drain after you burn it. Burn it up. But I guess he thought nobody would see him. So he drives to, oh my God, that's a story. You have to see the story in his book, which is just absolutely stupid. And so it's like, you went to all that work. So I'm not sure how bright this dude is, really. I tell you, I'm really not sure how bright he is. Okay, this is a good point. I think I recall the police failed to request the lobby camera footage in Chandra's building in a timely manner. Yeah, the camera was recorded over, so they couldn't see her leaving. This is really frustrating. If they could have had that video footage, they would know when she left, if she left, like walking, or she was brought down on a something else. They could have seen whether he was there or somebody else was there, or she went with somebody else. They could have seen something, but there's no footage. And that is very, very frustrating. I believe that somebody was lying in wait for those girls, like the Delphi murder. I don't know that somebody was lying in wait for her, because who would that be? I mean, we're talking about he's hiring somebody to lie in wait for her. I mean, again, I don't, it's not like it's impossible, but here's the thing I always point out when we do theories. Theories are okay, but it's also difficult. It shouldn't be that we base a theory on something that's got zero evidence. We don't have a shred of evidence that he hired anybody to kill Chandra Levy. We don't have that evidence at all. So, as far as him possibly meeting Chandra here, the evidence is that she looked up at least the park. That it's odd that she's running way up here, that she might have been meeting somebody. And if she were meeting somebody, the chances are she would be meeting Condit. Now, could he have said he was going to meet her and sent somebody else to meet her? Here's my problem with that. She was found a good ways down the old horse trail, right? One could point out, okay, he met her there, and she's like, confronts this complete stranger, which apparently is a Saudi Arabian dude, according to Dominique Dunn. Although he didn't throw her in the ocean, he just killed her on the trail. Okay, so then she meets this guy, and she's like, who the hell are you? And so he's got to pull out a gun, and he's got to make her go walk down all these trails. I mean, could it have happened? It could have happened. As a profiler, I stick with what I know tends to happen. This is what I said again on last week on the Panama case. The theory there is these girls weren't really missing for 10 days and making phone. They were missing for 10 days. Well, they were missing for longer than that, but they were alive for 10 days, apparently lost. And they were every day they were trying to use the cell phone to see if they could get a connection so they could get emergency help. Somebody's out there saying, oh no, they were hidden. And then the killer of them, like every day he took out their phones and made it look like they were looking for emergency help. And then he killed them and dumped their bones in the river. And then he took the phones and put them back in the backpack and made sure somebody found it so that they would think the girls were calling for help. Really? No. You got some scumbag who found the girls on the trail. They kill them. Boom. Done. Dead. They take their stuff. They steal the money out of the backpack. They take some phones, either throw them in the water and drown them out, or they whatever. But they don't behave the way people saying they're behaving, because they're coming up with this bizarre creative fantasy killer, and it doesn't work like that. So do I believe that he would have hired somebody to meet her at the Klingel mansion, and then he pulls out a gun and makes her walk down the bike path and then stage it? No, I think it's too elaborate. That's just not the way things actually work. So I try not to go there, because it, again, there's nothing that really supports that. They did, we can go back and say what they did right and they did wrong. And, they obviously tried and failed. I try not to get into all the reasons why, because I wasn't there at the time. I don't know why they made the decisions they did. But unfortunately, they did not find her. Well, picnic area where you can dump a body. It was actually, yeah, there was actually an area up above that you could actually check a body down. And there was also some other access where you could dump a body. So that was always a possibility. Let's see what else we got to say here. Okay. I don't know if we looked. I'm trying to. Okay. Let me go back a little further just to see if I missed anything. I got some fun things here I won't repeat because they're fun. If you're in the chat room and saw them, I'm laughing, but I'm not going to put them up on the screen. Okay, I will put this one on the screen because it makes me laugh. The only reason this is a big case is because Gary Condit, he wasn't as smart as Bill Clinton, who famously said, "I never had sex with that woman." But he followed in his tracks and said, "I never had a romantic relationship with Chandra Levy." He wasn't much better. So, yeah, it was. The Connie Chung interview was a disaster, absolute disaster, and it destroyed his career. And that tells you he does, he got away with a lot of stuff because he's a manipulative, in my opinion, and a sneaky little snake. And I don't think you can sue me for calling him a sneaky snake, but I'll call him that. And a wife that looked the other way. I believe she knew darn well what was going on, and she looked the other way. And after he lost his election, and it was pretty clear that he was having some kind of relationship with Chandra Levy, his wife stayed with him, and she's still with him to today. So she got out of her marriage what she wanted to get out of her marriage, and maybe she really was okay with him catting around, or she just accepted it. And sometimes women do for the family's sake, or for whatever reasons. They've been with him a long time, and they're like, that's just he's good to me, but he's got this little problem with making errors, and I'm willing to okay with that. Okay, wouldn't be for me, but hey, so I'm going to go back down to the bottom here. Let's see if oh, good Lord, love faces. Oh, I've been trying to block love face, and for some reason, I keep putting block user, but no, I've essentially blocked. No, I don't have any mods because it's just so far I'm willing to just do it myself. No, he's not love face. You got to have a sense of humor a little bit. Although, on one of my shows, the defense lawyer for the defense attorney for the woman I was talking about showed up, and that was pretty amusing. I don't think Condit's particularly interested in what I have to say today. So, but he keeps coming back like a cold sore. He does. What the heck I have blocked him, and I'm not sure how he keeps getting past my blocks. So I have blocked him about 3 to 4 times, but for some reason, yeah. But I say you have to have a sense of humor when you're doing a live show, and I just have a sense of humor. So most of the time, it's not a big deal, and so it works for me. And I might change my mind in the future, but so far so good. So anyway, what time is it? Oh, okay. What time is it? That's weird. Oh, okay. I forgot what time I started my show today. I'm like, did I start at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? Because last week it was 4 o'clock. Because I wasn't available, and this week it's 3 o'clock. So I have been on here 2 hours. So he sure likes the attention. Hey, he does. But I actually more concerned Christine about the fact that Condit doesn't have a problem putting a porn conversation in the beginning of his book. Duper's delight. I think that is absolutely correct. I think that was so creepy. I'm like, what in the world? Okay, so at any rate, this is next week. Yeah, it is the Christmas is coming up. But I'm still going to do on Wednesday. I'm still going to do my hangout. If you would like to participate in the live hangout, you have to go and join Patreon at the 3rd level. Otherwise, you can see it later. I always can see it says live hangout. You have to if you want to be there live, you have to join Patreon. But if you don't want to join Patreon, you can always come later and see the show anyway. And people do. And so I'm going to do the live hangout this week. And next Sunday I will do a show. I'm trying to think of a lighter topic. You know, it's kind of hard when your whole thing is about homicide. You know? I don't think lighter topic works out. but oh, seriously, Joe. Just visited Love Faces sites. It's full of naked girls. Disgusting. Anyway, I made my excuses and stayed. You know, it's amazing. You know, I get a huge amount of porn, you know, sent to my email because I have YouTube and because I have Twitter and Facebook and blogs. I get a lot of people. Yeah, I get so much sex stuff. It's ridiculous. And I get it from all around. So, you know, it's just our world is completely screwed. That's what it comes down to. Oh my God. Oh, aren't you nice? Oh, that's very nice of you. Love your shows, Pat. Thank you very much. I hope lots of laughs. Lighter topic. I'm trying to think. If you have an idea, okay, I haven't planned next Sunday yet. If you have an idea of stuff I can profile that's a lighter topic for the holiday season, then something horrifically brutal and terrible, you just let me know. Did Rudolph really exist, the reindeer? Wait a minute. Wait. Yes, he does. Look. It's right here. Wait. Wait. I gotta look at his butt. Is that? Wait a minute. It's not his butt. How do I make Rudolph work? Oh my God! I forgot how to make Rudolph work. I'm looking at his. Is it his butt? Well, I have no idea how this works. This is my Rudolph, and he was very, very cute. So, yes, he does exist. He's right here, you see. What he's supposed to do a song, and I just don't know how to. Oh, what happened to my Rudolph? The heck? There should be like a button you push, but I can't find it. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, well, that's weird. Maybe, I thought maybe you're supposed to squeeze him. Or maybe his batteries are dead. But anyway. Yes, Rudolph does exist. Don't ruin that for the children. Oh my God, Santa the stalker. Oh my God. Somebody saw the picture. Somebody had this on Twitter, so then I put it on Twitter myself. I redid it, and Santa's looking in the window. It's like, is Santa seeing if you're naughty or nice? That was quite sick. But this is not a children's show, so we can say that here. That's an interesting point, by the way. Condit doesn't fit the profile of a man who would do his own dirty work. Anyone can kill, but it's hard to believe a congressman could do his own cover-up. You know, yes and no. It's really tricky in that sense. If he met her and they went for a walk, and then he said, "Okay, so you're leaving town. Let's meet." And then she sprung it on him that she wanted commitment and was going to go public, and he lost it. You know, he lost it and killed her losing it. That's more likely than a planned homicide. So I would think it more be a rage thing. Apparently he did have issues with rage. So he could have said, you can't tell people, you can't. She goes, well, I'm going to, because you said you were going to commit me, that kind of thing. It's like, oh crap, I've killed her. Now I've got to fake something and run away and go back to work. Yeah, that's more likely. That he would hire somebody. He could, but it would be difficult, and then it would have to be very, very premeditated. That he was really, really concerned. So I don't know. I mean, we just don't have. I don't have good information on it, and if I could see all the interviews he did with the police, which was very deceptive apparently, and not. He said he was cooperative, but I don't think they thought so. But again, he just may have been covering up an affair and nothing else, and this girl just went for whatever reason, went for a run because she was bored and ran into a serial killer. Hard to know. So I really don't know. Oh, that's sad. My dog destroyed my Rudolph toy. They will destroy everything. That's why I don't have one. The dogs, if you hear dogs barking here, that's because my daughter lives next door, and she has 2 German Shepherds and a little puffy thing. So they bark a lot, but they're not in my house. Oh, well, yeah, I take that back. If the door opens up, they'll run in my house and I have to chase them back out. So I just have a cat and a bearded dragon and 2 mice and a toad, but not a threat to Rudolph. Oh, by the way, okay, this is a good point. I forgot. This is a good point. She was strangled, right? We don't know. The skull did not show any kind of a firearm, any kind of hole in it that would indicate she was shot. There were on the bones that they saw no knife cuts or anything. Don't know. Absolutely do not know. She could have been strangled. She could have been suffocated. She could have been stabbed. We just don't know. And that's the problem. We don't know. Wednesday, the 22nd. Okay, that could be it. Could be. Oh yeah, this is true. Molly says that she searched Baskin Robbins after he lost the election. He bought 2 Baskin Robbins, and then that failed on him. So yeah, what the heck? So there's another theory that he said, "Why don't you meet at Klingel Mansion and I'll bring you some Baskin Robbins, or you bring the Baskin Robbins." Don't know. Wish I knew. Oh, and this is the answer. By the way, I was asked in my hangout, what was the one case I would love the answer to? And I said, this is the case. Because I have so many cases, you're curious what really did happen. And for me, because I'm a profiler, I'm like, I profiled this. I hope I'm right. I kind of like to know I'm right. Kind of like to know who really did it. I'd like to know who really did this one. I really would. Because it could have been Guandique. It could have been Cook. It could have been Condit. I just absolutely cannot say for sure. Now, Joe McCann, he actually, I ran into Joe. Joe McCann is in the documentary. I ran into a guy named Joe McCann. He was with the MPD, Metropolitan Police Department, for many years. I actually ran into Joe McCann on another case, a case in DC is still unsolved. It's the case of Dana Chisholm, which is a fascinating case. I may do that case. Dana Chisholm, who was murdered in her apartment. And the guy actually left a note on the door, said, "I'll be back, Metropolitan Police Department." Really interesting case. And I talked to Joe McCann about a suspect in that case. And so we talked quite a bit. He is retired and he was hired by the Levys to work on this case. And he came up with a theory about, and it's right at the end of the show. So you got to go through at the very end of the third show. It's like at the last 3 minutes. I'm like, well, what's his theory? Because he's got a theory and he thinks he knows who did it. And he's like, I can't say I know who did it. I'm not sure I know who did it, but I can say that the evidence points to somebody in particular. And it's my theory from all my years of working that I pretty much feel like I know who did it, but I can't really say. So it's kind of fun. And Sally says, one case I wish I knew the answer to is a missing Brian Schaefer case. I don't know the missing Brian Schaefer case. I think I don't know it anyway. I'm not sure. So I will have to look that one up because I don't remember it. One of the things that's so great about having you guys is that I do my thing so I can remember this. And I can put them on my list. Yeah, you all know way more cases than me because I worked on cases. When I get a case, I would focus in on that. Or if I was doing television or a documentary, they would tell me the cases they wanted me to pay attention to, and I'd focus in on that. And so with all you guys out there, you all have so many other cases that I'm like, I never heard of that case, or I remember hearing about it, but I never looked into it. And so some of you have so much more knowledge about certain cases. And so that's why it's kind of cool because you're bringing these cases to me and then I get to do my research on them and analyze them. And like, wow, that was an interesting case that somebody brought. So that's one of the, suddenly says that's one of the true head scratchers. I'm going to look into that because sometimes there's a case which I can't come up with. I don't do a show on because it's too, there's not enough information for me to do a show on. I mean, so it's like I end up saying, I don't know. I mean, I don't know here, but there's still, I can at least talk about all the different issues of the cases, but some of them are like, don't know. There's no evidence. Person just disappeared. Or it's so long ago that the evidence is so confusing and convoluted, and I don't know where the truth lies, so I can't even really comment. Sometimes I will talk about one of those shows on my Hangout because I'm not going to do a full show on it, but I'll be pointing out maybe just one issue about the case. And so I'll bring it up. Like the boy in the box. Well, the boy in the box I did a very short video on. Again, so long ago, can't really do much with it. But they're saying there's going to be DNA in the boy in the box case. So that's why I talked about it in a separate video. So there's so many interesting ones. Suddenly says, has anyone else been down the rabbit hole of Brian Schaefer? Well, I'm going to have to look because God knows these rabbit holes that people go into on the internet are insane. Joe says, what about the granddaddy, Jack the Ripper? Okay, so Jack the Ripper, I will do that. I actually have already done that case. I did the mystery files. I went over to London, and the story about that basically is this: that it's really kind of sad. The production company called me up and they said, we're interested in you profiling Jack the Ripper because we're going to do a show on it. And the guy that does the tour, the Jack the Ripper tours, he's famous for these Jack the Ripper tours. He has this great theory. And we're going to give you the theory and then we want you to profile the case. And I looked at his theory and I called them back and said, sorry, but this theory just doesn't hold any water. And I cannot do a show. I'm not going to profile it and say this has got any substance to it. I mean, I just can't. And they said, well, what do you think? So I started researching Jack the Ripper and I gave them my thoughts and they dumped the poor guy. I didn't know they were going to do that. They dumped him and they hired me instead. So I went over to London and I did a whole thing on Jack the Ripper for Mystery Files. That is out there. But I'm going to do a show here on it because as usual, whenever you do a show for television, it's always edited. And so I'm not sure that all the information I wanted to convey was in that show. I can't quite remember it because it's been a while. So yes, I have a suspect in that case. I'm pretty confident with my suspect. It's not the prince. It's not the artist. It's not the ridiculous concept that Jack the Ripper was some famous person is totally ridiculous. So it's not that. And my suspect wasn't terribly popular because he wasn't exciting enough, essentially. And I'm not surprised Mystery Files even had me do it because usually the reason the documentaries want you to do is because you can make a big, huge hoo-ha over something. And I didn't. And I was like, they were cool. Great production company. Had a great time with those people. So they were fabulous. So that's one of the documentary production companies I really, really approve of. So I thank them very much. But I will do a thing on that. So there's an army of ripperologists in London who run tours. There was even a museum in the East End of London, though it was awful. Yeah, I mean, this guy was the #1 ripperologist tour dude. And I did feel kind of bad because I had no intention of taking the show away from him. And I'm like, I'm thinking this poor guy is probably so excited he's going to get this show and he's going to do his theory, and kind of felt like a bum. But it's not that once that happened, there was not much I could do about it. So it's unfortunate. But his theory just didn't make any sense, and I couldn't support it. And as a profile, I'm not going to go on a show and support something I don't think is true. So there we go. All right. So yes, I will, but I will do that. Okay, well, I want to point out something about hunches. Oh, whoops, that's not it. Okay, Julie, your hunches and intuition is really useful and informative. Those are two things I try not to do. I just want to point that out. Hunches and intuition are a huge mistake in investigative work. And people talk about going with the gut. I have worked on cases where detectives went with the gut and the gut went the wrong way because they really were not paying attention to evidence. So it's not hunches and it's not intuition. That takes it out of the realm of science. And I believe criminal profiling and crime scene analysis should be as scientific as possible. So what I point out is that you have to look at the evidence and see what does the evidence support. If there's enough evidence to support something that's scientific, it may not. Now, science isn't always perfect, so it could end up not being correct. But you don't want to just use hunches. You can use your experience. You have experience, education, methodology, logic. You can use all of those things to come up with a determination. But it shouldn't be a hunch, and it shouldn't be intuition. That's what you don't want because a lot of times it's just guesswork, and you just want to stay away from guessing as much as you can stay away from guessing. And this is why in this instance, why do I not have a determination? Well, you know me. I'm not one of these people that always goes namby-pamby. You know what I mean? So, because I don't want to piss anybody off. I really don't know. It could be this, or it could be that. What do you think? And that way, I don't get a ton of haters and people, unsubscribe from me. I will give my opinion on what my determination is if I believe there's evidence for that determination. Now, you can disagree with my determination. Okay, just don't write like some guy had to block, off my channel recently, who went crazy on the Panama thing, and he just kept saying, "You're an idiot. Basically, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." I'm like, okay, dude, take that someplace else. This is my determination. This is the evidence that supports it. You may disagree, but you can. The one comment is enough, that you disagree with me. But here, I can't really make a determination because I don't have enough evidence to be absolutely sure about anything. And if I could work the case on the inside, I might have a different answer. I might say, absolutely, I can determine it's this dude or it's one of the serial killer dudes. But I'm here with you guys with what information I can get. All I can say is I can, with strong determination, say the guy is deceptive. He did not tell the truth, and he lied about things, and he misled the police, and he hid evidence. That I can say. I can say that all he said in his Connie Chung interview leads me to believe that he was actually saying that he was having an affair with Chandra Levy, but just didn't say it out loud. I can say that confidently. I cannot say he killed her. I cannot say that because I don't have evidence of that. And as far as Guandique goes, I heard Guandique's interview. He did a really long interview, and he said, I didn't kill Chandra Levy, and he gave us all a long explanation. And he was very, I have to say, pretty convincing. But, he might just be a good psychopath and a great pathological liar. But I listened to him. It was in Spanish, but there was English below, and I am studying Spanish, so some of it I recognize, the method, the particular terms that he used. I didn't catch a lot of deception there, but who knows? It's a serial rapist, if nothing else. So that makes him a psychopath. And so, could he have killed Chandra Levy? Absolutely. I just don't know. So my determination is undetermined. So, okay, this is a good point. I like this. How do you cope when your brain flags pattern matches, but there isn't quite enough evidence? Well, welcome to the world of detectives. You get this is, and the same is true with profiling. And this is one of the purposes of my channel, because I'm trying to teach people how profiling works. Okay, profiling is an investigative method. It's a method, and it's intended not to do what you see happening in the shows with the FBI profilers and I can link with the killer, and I know who it is. It's a white guy who lives with his mother and has a dog and a knife collection and an old green car. And lo and behold, there he is. No, that's not the way it works. What you do is you examine all the evidence, the behavioral evidence, the physical evidence, the circumstantial evidence, every piece of evidence you can examine. You put all that together and you come up with a determination based on the evidence. And you tell, if I'm a profiler working with the police department, I say, here is what I see. A, because this evidence supports it. B, because this evidence supports it. C, because this evidence supports it. And I go on through a list. And I go, therefore, with all of the evidence, this is my determination. This is in my opinion, from my examination of the evidence and my analysis, the best direction to look. The best direction in which you might find enough evidence to then arrest and convict. Because if you're bringing me in just to analyze, we're not in the arrest and conviction stage yet. If that's already been done. I'm there to help guide an investigative avenue. Now, I could say, if I were in this case right now, I'd be saying, this is all I knew, I'd say, look, there's two investigative avenues. This amount of evidence points to that we should be looking at Gary Condit because of A, B, C, D, and E. But because we don't know about her, we need to find more about her running issues to find out whether this is another good investigative avenue. I might say there's two investigative avenues, these two. Look at both of them. I might say that. So what we don't want is to not be willing to then, we have to investigate further until we have enough evidence. Now, a lot of times when profilers are brought in on a case, it's 4 years, 5 years, 10 years too late. And I'll come up with a determination. I might even be absolutely sure I know who did it. I may even say, this is the dude, according to me, 20 pieces of evidence point to this dude. And guess what? It's not enough to arrest him, because when they go to his house and his car, everything's already gone. All the evidence is long, long, long gone, unless there's DNA, of his on the victim. It's gone. And they say, well, we agree with you, but it's never going anywhere. And that's sad, but true. So it's possible that had they found Chandra's body, like within a couple of days of her going missing, maybe there was DNA. Maybe that DNA would have linked to Condit, or maybe it would have linked to Guandique, or it would have linked to Cook, or to yet somebody else. Or there may have been more evidence at the scene, which would have helped determine exactly what happened. The problem is her body wasn't found for a year, so all that was gone, and there was not useful stuff to convict anybody. Yeah. Well, what are the main criticisms you have of John Douglas? Do you think he relies too much on instinct and conjecture? I have had long-term issues with John Douglas. That's not a hidden thing. I do not approve of the inductive methodology used by the FBI, which uses a lot of statistics and almost psychic stuff to say, this is the guy who committed the crime. This is what the serial killer's like. I've never bought any of their stuff. And now they've done some great work. John Douglas and Ann Burgess and the third guy, blanking. They did some really great interviews of serial killers, and they put together very interesting study materials on serial killers. When I do my school part, I will recommend that book. I don't throw a baby out with the bathwater. I think the FBI did some very interesting early studies of serial killers. Some of them are a little bit skewed because they interviewed guys who were caught, and they're also pathological liars. So a lot of times they believed what they said, which was just not true. So some of the determinations in their books were based on lies and the caught killers and not the uncaught killers. So there were some theories about serial killers that I just don't go with at all from their studies. I like some of their studies, but I don't agree with their conclusions from their studies. And then they went on to doing these serial killer crimes where they would take a bunch of different crimes, and then they would go, they say white guy lives with his mother, he's 30 to 40 years old. I'm like, where are you getting that from the crime scene evidence? It's not there. That's being done by statistics, and it's almost like psychic stuff. And I don't agree with it. And John Douglas used a lot of it, and I do not believe he has done particularly great work on an awful lot of crimes. I don't see his success rate as being something impressive. And I do believe he's had the media behind him for many years. He's like the mouthpiece for the FBI, the kind of glamour boy. I think he's done a lot of damage in the sense that he's promoted this concept of profiling, which I think is incorrect. And it went into Hollywood and took over Hollywood and television. And it also said that the FBI is the only one that can profile, which is absolutely outrageous. They've only got like 9 profilers, maybe, and they're not even really, they're agents with a behavioral science unit, and they do bunches of stuff. But it became this whole mysterious group of people. It's just nonsense. And because profiling should be trainable. It should be something you can train people to do. You should be able to train detectives to profile. You should be able to train profiles to work in departments. They don't have to come from the FBI. It's ridiculous. Lawyers don't always have to come from one organization. Lawyers all over the place. There's doctors that come out of different medical schools. But apparently profilers can only come out of the FBI. It's outrageous, and it's wrong, and it's not scientific. So we should be able to train profilers, or the profiling methodologies, deductive methodologies of using evidence and not conjecture and not all that kind of stuff, with anybody who wants to learn it, which could be detectives, which could be police officers, which could be profilers. I say in-house profilers. It could be independent profilers. It could be whatever, but it should be a trainable and teachable methodology. Now, you do need to have basic logic, and if you're an illogical person, you're kind of like, it's not the field for you. But you should be able to be trained once you got basic logic. So that's my thoughts on that. So, well, that could be. All right. That's funny. Oh, here's one. Take the paper box to a picnic area. Yeah, you could do that. Put it in a fire pit. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, the polygraph. Yes. Did Condit take a polygraph? Yes, he did, but it was private, and they would not take the police polygraph. So there, that's interesting. Yeah. Let me see if there's any other comments. I'm going to close up for tonight. Pat, I want Pat to do the Ray Rivera. I don't know this one either. I'm going to take a picture of it. Don't know it. I'll go check it out and put it on my list. Who's this? Elisa Lamb. Well, you come up with all kinds of here. Okay, put that on. Oh, wait a minute. Something's wrong with my picture here. Don't do that. Okay, basic photo, because this is the easiest way for me to do it. Okay. All right. So, I thought the Chandra Levy case was solved, that the last creep they found was guilty. I didn't know all this other stuff. Yeah, well, he was found guilty. Then it was no, all fell apart. And they just said, you can't prove it. And they, outside of the jailhouse snitch, they really didn't have anything anyway. He's a bad dude. But if Cook was running around, the reason I brought up the other creepy dude, the one that was convicted of serial homicide, who was a serial killer, is because he was also killing in the park. And he's in the same area. He's in the basic same area. So to say there's not more than one serial killer is also not true. There's often a bunch of serial killers rolling around, and sometimes they overlap. So yeah. So just to say he's a serial predator doesn't make him the serial predator that killed Chandra Levy. That's the problem. And they didn't have anything except for the jailhouse snitch. That was it. So, so let's look at it. Oh, can I miss anything? Okay. We're just looking. Last comment here. Well, Anna, he was a politician for huge number of years. People really liked him. He really did. He was very, very popular. He was handsome. I mean, personally, I say he's not my type, but I guess especially when he's younger, is extremely handsome. He worked out, and he was the kind of guy who people liked. They did, and that for whatever reasons, I don't know what he was like when he was in California. Maybe he was, doable. I don't know. So, I'm not sure what this is. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure what this is. Coin says $10. Now, I do not have super stickers on this thing. Yes, I've refused to put them on here, so I'm not sure where that comes up. But I certainly appreciate the concept. But I don't think I have super stickers on here. Do I? I've never put them on here. And the only reason I haven't done that is because I kind of always felt like I didn't want to push people for money during the show or say, hey, and then, but if you did, I appreciate that tremendously. It's like, I thank you. And, but I don't know they even have that on here. So you'll have to tell me. I don't, how is that possible? Because I don't have it. I don't think I have super stickers. Do I? I mean, or whatever this is. I never clicked on it. What? I'm totally confused. I am absolutely totally confused. Because, I did go in the other day. Because YouTube has something new. The new thing is they've got this little, it's called a thanks thing with a little $sign in it. It's like a tip box. So you can put that underneath, where you have subscribe and like and all that. There's a little boxes. You can do that. And I thought that's kind of cool because that way I wouldn't be doing it during my show. That if somebody liked the video later and wanted to click on it and give me $1 or give me $2, it's like a tip jar. How cool is that? So I checked it out, and they're like, well, they've allowed some YouTubers to have that. I think it's the big YouTubers that have like 500,000 people who probably don't need any support for their channel, but they're allowed to do that. And I'm like, well, then why are the rest of us not allowed to do that? So they said, it's not available to me yet. So they said maybe later by the end of the year, early in the next year, they'll make it available to all YouTubers. And I thought, okay, that's not bad. I could put that up there. And then, oh my God, Loveface is back. What the hell? I can't. How is it that I've blocked the user and he keeps coming back? How is that possible? But anyway, so I thought, well, when that comes up, I might add that because that would be very helpful to our channel. But I was going through that and I did put in some information about myself. So I don't know, did I accidentally hit something that allows super stickers? I have no idea. But, maybe you'll just, what the heck? Checkmate. I just did it. You have it now. They're super. Yeah, I know it. I know it's super chats and I've avoided doing super chats. And I know people have been telling me to do super chats, but I've just been avoiding it because I don't know. I just try not to auction during the show. but maybe my attitude is wrong because the channel really could use support. But wow, I have no idea. Well, thank you so much, Coin. I mean, thank you for doing that and donating to the channel. And I had no idea I had that. So maybe I should go ahead with that. I don't know. I've just never done it before. So maybe you'll change my mind because, wow, you see the option. What the heck? This must have accidentally happened when I was going through YouTube trying to click on things and trying to figure out how to do things. Oh my God, I had absolutely no idea. Well, heck, it was unintentional, but maybe the gods must be telling me that, you want to keep this channel going, Pat. Maybe you need help. Because I it's a funny thing doing this channel because I don't do the things that necessarily get tons of viewers. And I'd rather not do that because I'd rather have really good subscribers. I'd rather have good friends like you that make my channel worthwhile doing because it's not just I want to be a YouTube. What do we call those guys? Super YouTuber. I don't even know what you call them. And I just want to be one of those, huge YouTube content providers. And I want to make tons of money and I'll have 10 channels and, it's not what I'm about. And, so I've kind of, shied away from doing a lot of stuff. But yeah, the channel does need support. That's unfortunately, that is true. Oh my God, what the heck? Oh my God, this is so funny. Joe says, oh, 5 quid. Oh, want you nice, Joe. Don't spend it all at once. Hey, I want to get that guy in here and get my lighting because I still have the glasses problems. It's horrible. Oh my God, I had absolutely no idea that is on. That is so freaking funny. Oh my God. And, and I fought against it. So I don't know. Okay. Yeah, that's true too. You can to support Pat, you can join Patreon. Yeah, and that is true. You can $1, $3, $7 a month. It's if you're constantly going to be here and you want me to keep putting out the content so I can not do other work and focus on this. Yes, it really does help to have the ongoing monthly support. So that's really awesome. But I say it's a struggle to have a channel that can survive because the amount of hours that go into this is phenomenal. I had no idea when I started it. I really had no idea how much work it was, but it's good work if I can do what I want to do. So yes, thank you very much suddenly for that. That is what I've had Patreon so far. So Forever Young says, I'm not seeing anything for super chats. I have wait, I don't. Yes, exactly. Yes, it's a monthly $3, right? I love faces. He'll give you $1,000 if you profile him. Yeah, I think really, I might go for that. Love face. Oh my God. Yeah, I honestly have. Can we crowdfund that instead? Oh my God, I'm so confused. The struggle is real. It really is. I mean, it's click the $sign on the chat bar. Really? I honestly did not do this on purpose. I have absolutely, it's like, well, I'm being accused of being technologically an idiot, especially from haters. It's like, You shouldn't even be doing YouTube because you can't even manage things properly. It's like, well, apparently I've done it again. I've managed to click on something and start a super chat that I had never had any intention of doing. But how bizarre is that? I have, yeah, let's help Pat. She's struggling. Well, I'm struggling in the sense of YouTube is it is there are millions, literally, people don't get this. There are millions of channels on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't do a lot to help you out necessarily. So the algorithms what bring you to people's attention, or you have to have your thing shared, or somehow people have to find you. But the survival rate on YouTube is about 0.01%. Because people work for an entire year and their entire earnings are zero, or they work for an entire year and they're making $30 a month. And people say, well, they do it for love, which is fine, but it's a very big endeavor to put a lot of research and time into when you're spending 20 to 40 hours a week working for YouTube, and you're pulling in less than $1 an hour. Then you think, maybe I should be doing something else with my time, because everybody does, want to have their, earn a living if this is going to be their living. So YouTube is great in the sense that I get to actually speak to people instead of doing the television stuff where I got my little sound bite and then, I couldn't, really elaborate on that. So I love this format. I love the fact I can actually teach about profiling and crime scene analysis, and I can do it my way. But yeah, it's I'm never expecting to be a huge YouTuber. That I have no intention of, and I have no concern about that. I just want to make it a viable channel so that I can keep doing it. That's all I'm hoping for. So, oh my God, really? You started? Oh wow. I started my own boxing channel 2 months ago. I now have a grand total of 137 subscribers. Still, all big things have small beginnings. As I tell the ladies, I will not believe me. 100, actually, Joe, 137 in 2 months is really good, because most people, it takes them sometimes half a year to a year to even get 100 subscribers. You're already ahead of the game. So you're doing pretty well. So, oh, well, that's not true. Not all YouTubers work that hard. There are a few super lucky, ridiculously lucky YouTubers, but the majority of them, even the ones who have 2 million subscribers, the stress level is intense because of the amount of time they have to put into it, coming up with the content, doing the editing. Not me, but I don't edit very well. But the editing, and then the outreach, and it's actually. I'm actually impressed by even some of the big YouTubers. I'm very impressed by, because now I know what they're doing. Yes, they're the lucky ones, and they're the ones you go, really, really. The one I show with the bread that falls over and gets 1 million views. I'm like, really, but and I look at it. So there are so many women. I mean, there are I'm not sure how many there are, but there are at least a dozen women who do murder and makeup type things, and they have millions of viewers. I'm like, they tell a good story and then they do their makeup, and I'm like, that's it? That's how that's it? I'm like, man, but it works, and there's a huge portion of the population that likes that, and I have a smaller portion of the population. I consider you my intelligent folks who want to learn more than just the basic story and makeup, that you actually want to learn more, get more in depth and more understanding. And it's a smaller group, and I'm always going to have a smaller group. That's okay. I'd rather have you guys than, although I'd like to be able to do makeup really, really well, so I wouldn't look like this, but I suck at makeup. Oh my God. So funny. Please don't do makeup on your channel. If I did makeup on my channel while I was talking, you would go out there. You go, is this a clown makeup show? I have no talent. Oh, that's nice. I enjoy small groups. Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I have the Hangout too, because we have a smaller group for Hangout. and so that really is kind of a fun thing for me to be able to talk to people. So, that's, but everything is a little bit, when you're doing YouTube, you just got to sort of roll with punches and accept things the way they are, because, you don't have total control over everything. Just got control over some things. So what's this? Oh my God, pack into our own shells while learning how to do makeup. No, I mean, it's one thing I've always said, when I did television, I'm like, there were people who would see me on television, and they'd go, "Oh, Pat, you look like 20 years younger, than your age." I'm like, believe me, that was hair, makeup, and lighting. I had no control over all three of those, and I thank all the people who do all three of those, because believe me, that's not the real me. I can't do that. So Diet Pepsi. Older gals look great. Older gals don't look great in heavy makeup. Well, at a distance we do. So you put on the really heavy makeup, but then you go really far away and you do the right lighting. It's like, if you're Cher, for example, you're on stage, you look really good. Oh my God. It's just, I like this one. Let's say, I think the more true research, the more intellectual material you provide, the harder to grow. That is true. That is absolutely true. I mean, the algorithms don't necessarily like educational channels. It's entertainment channels they like, not educational channels. So, my topic is not in that kind of thing. And, people say, but you're entertaining. Well, I'm trying to keep you from falling asleep. So I hope I'm entertaining, but I'm an educational channel. So yeah, it has, yeah, it is what it is. And you just have to, let's say, it's like when, you do any kind of thing in life, there's the optimum and you wish that were so, and then you go, okay, reality is, and then you make good with it. And let's face it, I mean, the opportunity that YouTube allows, which I have to really respect, is that this is a heck of an opportunity for people when you don't have to go through a gatekeeper. Because when I did television, it's always about the television, the network. The network decides who they want on. The network decides when they want you on. The network decides how much they want you to say. And that's the way it works. And so you are restricted. You're restricted. And if you become unpopular overnight, you're just gone. I mean, you're just no longer there. And so here, it is your channel. Now, your channel may not be super popular. It may not get the algorithm, but it is one's own channel, and one can do with it what they want, unless they, crossing the legal lines, but one can do what they want. And that's an incredible thing, to be able to reach out to the public, to reach out to you guys with what I want, and not with what I'm restricted to by somebody else. So this is pretty cool. It's just, I say, it's still difficult to make it successful enough to survive, but it's pretty cool that the option even exists. So I'll have to say that. So, that's nice. In a comment somewhere else, I mentioned my respect for Pat and her work, and the person on the other channel said he'd check out this channel. He'd be a good one to boost interest. Well, it all depends whether they like me. No, it's an interesting thing. I sometimes, recommend other channels. I sometimes recommend them for all their stuff. Sometimes I only recommend them for some of their stuff. And some people I don't recommend at all, and because everybody's got their own point of view. And I definitely am I'm not to some people's taste, and I am to other people's taste. So there are some who think I'm pretty cool, and there's some who absolutely think I shouldn't open my mouth. And they will have nothing good to say about me. And that's fair. I just said, John Douglas is, not one of the people I highly recommend for a profiling methodology, although I will recommend his original book. I think it has some merit. But, I have issues, and so he will probably say the same thing about me. He'll probably say, oh, that woman. I have no respect for that woman. And that, and that's why I tell people, one doesn't have to go and get mad at people. Like let's say somebody likes me. They don't have to go to John Douglas and say, how dare you say something bad about Pat Brown? And people from John Douglas's point of view don't have to go and say, oh, Pat Brown, how can you say something bad about John? We don't have to do that to each other. It's just, that is my point of view. If he's got his point of view and other people have their points of view, we all do. And sometimes we're going to disagree. And there may be a time when we would agree about something. Or there's points where I say, I particularly like what this person's done on this case. I may not agree with them on the rest of their cases, but they've done a really good job on this case. And I want you to pay attention to them on this. So, just because I don't always approve of something, maybe a person in general or some of the stuff that they do, doesn't mean I disapprove of them entirely or of everything they do. And so, we don't have to go around hating each other. We just can say, we just may not promote something, but we don't have to hate them either. So, and we have to have a good sense of humor, because if you don't, you lose your mind. You lose your mind. Oh my God. Somebody is talking about Masai recipes. I always love blood and milk. Tasty. So, did it detangle your hair? I put that detangling hair. Yes, I did put that up on my for the Amazon link. I like those brushes. I think they work. Anyway, okay, that's it. The best pickleball fusion channel. I do play pickleball, but I haven't done anything on the game yet. I'm a moderately skilled player, but I don't think I go into the expert category. So anyway, all right, that's it for today. I'm gonna go cook dinner. I actually am making dinner tonight from scratch. Yeah, really I am. I'm not known for doing that a lot because I'm lazy. But I'm going to do it tonight. So anyway, I will be here Wednesday for the hangout, and I will be here back Sunday. Trying to think of, send me any of your ideas for less than gruesome shows for the holiday season. And I will try to do them, because it might be something really interesting. It isn't quite your normal gruesome stuff. So if you got an idea, do send that along. What am I making for dinner? I am making a pasta dish that actually has pumpkin in it and interesting spices. I'll let you know next week if it turned out to be like, what the hell? What is this stuff? I stole it off a Sunbasket, actually. Sunbasket is they send food to your house, but I just took one of their recipes. I'm making it myself because I'm cheap. So, so I'll let you know how that all turned out. If it's a great recipe, I'll share it with you. Maybe I can't because it's not to share. So probably can't do that. So Brian Schaefer, not gruesome because he vanished into thin air. Okay, I'm going to check out Brian Schaefer. That might be a good one to do, because I'm just not sure what we're talking about. As far as the school, Lisa, tell us more. Yeah, this is a lot of work. I mean, I'm having a really. I've gotten certain slides set up for backgrounds. I've got my different programs set up. This is going to be a lot of work because I'm trying to come up with exactly. This is going to be taped. It's not going to be live, so it's going to be video. It's going to be a video. You know how much I hate editing. So if I don't get it right on the first time, I'm going to have to tape it over and over again. So I want short little bits on different interesting topics that I think anybody wanting to learn more about profiling and crime scene analysis, detectives, students of profiling, all kinds of different, depending on what you're interested in, you can pick out the topics. So I'll have criminal profiling. I'll have crime scene analysis. I'll have forensic pathology. I'll have the psychology of violent crime, which is psychopathy, and serial predators. In other words, serial rapists and serial murderers. So that's going to be the fifth one. So it's basically these 5 different topic areas, and so that's going to be like the different classes that I have, and then I'm going to do different things in each one of those to help people understand the different issues in forensic pathology and the different issues in the psychology of violent crime. And then my hope is that anybody anywhere in the world who wants to learn more, and this will be open and free. I know I'm supposed to sell this as a course, but I'm not going to, because I really want people to be able to just click on it. Because, like, for example, detectives, homicide detectives, they work so hard. They have so many hours of work. But let's say they just like to learn a little more, but they don't have time to go to a seminar or go to school or study too much, but they'd like to learn something more. They can, because these will be short, 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, they can find my channel and they can say, okay, I want to learn more about the psychology of violent crime because I don't know much about psychopathy. Click. Oh, I learned this today. Click. I learned that today. And I can, each time I learn something, I can apply it to my work. So I can keep learning all the time while I'm on the job, bit by bit by bit by bit. And that could be really helpful. And it could be anywhere in the world. So, you know, that any country, person from any country could learn about the different issues and have it laid out in such a way that it's simple and easy to access. And I want that because I just think there's not a lot out there like that. And I'd like to do that. And also for students of, let's say, students of criminal justice, students of profiling, students of whatever, they can also go there and check out all these different things. If they want to write reports and learn for their classes, they can do that as well. So that's my plan, but that's a lot harder than what I'm doing here even. You know, I mean, that is taking me a lot of time to try to figure it out and put it all together and start working on it bit by bit. I'm going to start putting stuff up. I'm not going to wait till I finish 50 videos. I'm going to start putting it up, but I just have to make sure I got it ready to go. And then I can keep adding and adding and adding. And then over time, there'll be a lot of stuff out there and hopefully it'll stay up there for, a decade or 2 decades. And any detective or student or whomever, or even people just wanting to learn can go and click on things and learn about that. And it'll be accessible to them in a very logical, easy to understand form because I've read all the books. I've studied this stuff. So there's so much material that's the problem. So if you got a book on let's say psychopathology and it's this freaking big, if you're a detective or somebody else, you're like, oh man, I don't have time to get through all this stuff, But if I can pick out the most important points for you to know about, so if you're in the field and you need to know this stuff, here's what you need to know, and I can teach you those things, and then you can. Yes, I'm not saying you shouldn't read the book. I'm going to recommend books you should read, but if you don't have the time, at least you can have these points because I'm a realist. You got to do what works, and if you only have so much time. You just might need to have something presented to you that you can do in the small amount of time that you got. So that's my idea. So anyway, that's it for today. Again, if you're still hanging around and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Lisa says someday I'll have 1 million subscribers. Not so sure. Sorry, that made me laugh. Forever Young says, I'm interested in 6 predators. I mean, as cases. That's good to know. Absolutely. And that will be a whole thing on, that's why I'm doing the whole thing on serial predators, because, they're a whole different category, and how you investigate them and how you understand them and how, that kind of thing it's a whole separate category. So I'm going to that's one of my whole classes will be on that. That will be in a little bit by little bit. So anyway, again, please subscribe, please share, please whatever. And thank you for the donations I got here today for the super chat, which I didn't even know I have. And maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. Maybe I should just leave it up there. And, because I do want to keep this channel going. And I do appreciate you guys so much for donating. And that's fantastic. So thank you so much. So anyway, that's it for today. I got to go do the cooking. And hopefully it doesn't turn out like crap, because I don't know. I love trying this. I love new recipes. And even though sometimes they're really risky, I get bored easily. So I like things that have a different flavor and have unusual ingredients. So it's like, let's see if this is good. And hey, Sunbasket, if you're listening, Sunbasket, I really think you have the best. They do have the best flavors of all those meals that are, delivered to your house, where you get the package and then you open it up and it's got the ingredients for each one of the meals. You get 3 different meals for 2 people each. You get the ingredients. I think the recipes are the best. I really do. And, my problem is I'm single. So a lot of times I don't cook for myself. And I kind of like to only buy the ingredients for 1 meal instead of 2, because I don't have that other person there. And so I tried that this week. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to buy the materials and see. But man, I hate the shopping part. I like it when the box comes to my house and I just open it up and I go, oh, this is one meal. Oh, here's 2 meals. Here's 3. I still get to cook it, but the flavors are great. They have all these little packages in there, like this is the flavoring for this and this is the dressing for that. And it's like, they do a great job, and the food really does taste really good. And so it's my number one choice for if you want to do those food things, the meals in your home, have the stuff delivered so you can cook them. So Sunbasket is my top one. Sunbasket has not hired me to say this. Hire me to say this. I can support the channel, but I do really think I've tried a bunch of different ones, and they're the ones I like. So I'm going to go try to cook something tonight, and I hope it tastes good. So I will see you all on Wednesday or on Sunday, or who knows. So anyway, till next time, bye.